Greetings, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Come on, people are not them can hear me. All right, blessed love, everyone. It's a rainy day outside, so I'm gonna try to do some indoor libations. I think the drums were too loud for the microphone. It kept chipping in and out. I think it was the volume of the drums. But we do give thanks, my brother Jaja. All right. Eli, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Marcus Garvey's I and I Black Shepherd, who teach I and I African self-reliance, so I people shall no longer want. He maketh me to overs, say Africa is for Africans, those at home and those abroad. He leadeth me to organize and also to be a part of an organization. His black philosophy and opinions restored I soul. He leadeth me up the path of African redemption for nationhood's sake. Yea, when I and I trod through these institutions of white supremacy, I shall neither fear, bow, nor submit. Because I and I ancestors are with I and I upon the storms and the whirlwind to protect I and I. Garvey has prepared a refuge for I in the presence of our enemies. Give thanks to the UNIA. Garvey has anointed I with self-confidence and black dignity until I and I love for Africa and African peoples overflow. Surely his philosophies and opinions and his 7 principles of Pan-African liberty shall follow I all the days of our life. And as I dwell, I will honor the name Marcus, Mosiah, Garvey, for Ivor. Yeah, man, we do give thanks. Give thanks to the Almighty Creator for sending us Marcus, Mosiah, Garvey. Give thanks for all I and I ancestors who trod along with Garvey and put in the work. It wasn't just Garvey alone. It was millions of African people who paved the way for the civil rights movement, Malcolm X, the Rastafarian movement, the decolonization of Africa. So we do give thanks for all our I and I ancestors and the works that they put in towards African redemption. And I pray that we continue this mighty work in the spirit of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, which is unceasingly, yeah man. So we do give thanks one and all, perfect love. I'd like to introduce my host, Andrea John Baptiste. Yeah man, blessed love mama. Take it away. Oh, Nita.
Myself. Greetings, greetings, greetings to one and all who have taken the time to join us today. I greet you in the name of the Most High, Emperor Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, Lords of Lords, and the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, Jah Rastafari. I also greet you in the name of the ancestors, those that have gone before us, so that we have this movement that is called Rasta. In the name of Leonard Howell, in the name of Alexander Bedward, in the name of Robert Hines, in the name of Prince Emmanuel Edwards, in the name of Mortimer Planner, and the many, many who have lost their lives, their liberty, and their justice for what we are able to celebrate today, as well as discuss Rasta, reggae, and resistance, Garvey, the music and the movement. As my brother, family, Wiedemeyer said, I am Andrea John Baptiste. I'm the host of Synergy Radio Show, and I am so honored to be with you today. And I want to give a big shout out and a thank you to Mabrak Jaja, who opened up with drumming. And I know we could see him beating his heart out and just giving honors. And we give thanks for the young element and the youthful energy that is here. I want to say greetings to all of the almost 30 of you that are online here from around the world. Jamaica, big up yourself. Florida, big up yourself. New York, big up yourself. Do we have anyone on the continent of Africa? Big up yourself. If do we have anybody in other parts of the Caribbean? Big up yourself. We give thanks for you coming here, and we hope that there will be value in this reasoning today. We also have, before we get into the panel and the discussion, I just want to say a big thank you to our folks that may be watching from Herbs, Jamaica. We want to give thanks to our friends over at Keef Magazine who have lent such a strength in getting the word out. So big up yourselves, and we give thanks for you. And with no further ado, before we get into the discussion, we want to set the tone because we're talking about music today, right? Rasta, reggae, and resistance with an individual that it has been my honor to recently meet, but has brought so much value and information to my own life. And I want to say, just really who has turned passion into purpose, primarily through founding and starting the Jamaica School Bands competition. So, Raven Amani, we thank you for lending us strength tonight, and please take it away.
Raven microphone.
And while we do that, I just want to also mention that we also have another musical performance that will be coming up from Athrazor as we close out the evening. As you all know, our panelists this evening are Kabaka Pyramid, Kalila Rose, Dottie Bookman, Kwasi Bonsu, of course, Asafo Wiedemeyer, and I'm happy to be your host and moderator, Andrea John Baptiste. A big shout out to Dr. Alicia Blackwood, who is online today helping us with some of the controls, as well as the folks over at Black Iowa TV. Big up, big up, big up. And I know we have some of our young people here as well. Greetings, 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 greetings. Raven, you ready for us? Because we're ready for you.
Yes, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, sis, loud and clear.
Yeah, man, greetings, greetings. And I want to say it's a complete honor to be here with everyone this evening. And of course, this tune here, it's called Black Without Apology. And when I hear Wida Maya talk about self-confidence, Black resilience, yeah, Black dignity, this is what it's all about. Now if you're proud to be Black, I'm Black, Black without apology, Black without apology. Now can you feel my energy? Yes, I'm Black, Black without apology. Yeah, Black without apology. Now can you feel my energy? Dark skin, bone in caramel, and no matter what the shade, you are an African. Some don't get it, they don't understand. That's why they'll never ever hold your hand, but no, you're worth much more than gold. So never ever sell your soul, never ever sell your soul. Yes, I'm Black, Black without apology. Yeah, Black without apology. Now can you feel my energy? Blonde Barbie scars make us scared to be who we are, wondering why we are the subject of all these wars, and now who make it reach so far. To put an end to the atrocities, find peace in your divinity, power in we unity, love in we community, no crisis with identity, no self-animosity. Hey, yes, I'm Black, black without apology. Well, black without apology. Now can you feel my energy? Yes, I'm black, black without apology. Well, black without apology. Holding myself to higher levels of advancement. Stick to higher grades like I'm keeping a commandment. Never mind the rhetoric. What you see here is never basic. Simply means I am not the regular. Could never be ordinary. Yes, I'm black, black without apology. Black without apology. Feel my energy. Yeah, give thanks.
We give thanks to you and a big salute to you, Sister Raven Amani, because we black without apology all day, every day, right here, USA and to the Caribbean, around the world. We give thanks, give thanks, give thanks so much.
I don't know what happened to the rhythm kind of squeeze, but hello, we're not making nothing right here, right now, okay?
It's all good. And for those of you that are online, we may have a little bit of technical difficulties. I know it's storming here and lightning, much like the last time. So hopefully we don't get any cutout or anything like that. And so we're just going to go on with the thing and go on with the flow. I want to say a greetings to the folks in the UK who might be online with us today. We hear UK is in the building, in the house. So big up yourself and thank you for taking the time. It's what, after 11? So late at night, and you have chosen to join us as we talk Rasta, reggae, and resistance. Garvey, the music and the movement. I'm going to ask now that our panelists, if you can go ahead and unmute yourselves, because we're going to go ahead and get started. And as those of you, you know, if you're coming on late, we have an esteemed panel of guests, of blacktivists, like I call them, individuals who've been doing the work, whether it's from musical perspective, a community development, entrepreneurial, or combination of all of the above. And so we have Kabaka Pyramid, Kalila Rose, Dottie Bookman, Kwasi Bonsu, Asafa Wiedemeyer, and I'm going to also take the liberty of including in our discussion Raven Amani and Ath Razar as well. All right, we've got Kwasi on the screen before. Those of you who saw, that was Kabaka Pyramid. We've now got Kwasi Bansu on screen. Hey, greetings. So if all of you who are on the panel, if you can go ahead and unmute yourselves, because I want to ask a question. I'm going to ask Dottie Bookman. Since you're right there, I'm going to start with you. For each of the panelists, right? This is the same question I'm going to ask all of you, because as we introduce ourselves, I want to get a sense, or for the audience, for our guests to get a sense of what, when, how, and where was your first introduction to Garvey and his teachings, and what was the impact of that experience on your life?
Yeah, well, greetings to everyone out there. Thanks for having me. I'm very honored to be on the panel with these esteemed ones today. And of course, much respect and big shout out to the man called Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who's very strong with celebrating today. The first time I came across in any real way the work and legacy of Marcus Garvey actually was pretty late, you know, I think in my 20s, around 2008, I was actually organizing an event, the Africa Unite Youth Symposium, which was you know, Rita Marley did this event in Ethiopia, Ghana, and South Africa. And it was the first time that she was bringing it to outside of the continent, and she brought it to Jamaica. And my colleagues and I were organizing that symposium, and we had certain guest speakers, you know, Muta Baruka, Barry Shevans, and a host of other people. And
On the final day of the symposium, a couple of days before that, we realized that we had a sudden opening for a speaker. And instead of scampering around and filling that slot, it was suggested that I speak on the final day and just kind of wrap up, you know, the way forward for us as youths in this time, you know. So really it was that whole symposium where I was exposed to, in a very potent way, a lot of conversations about Marcus Garvey, more than just that he's the first national hero, which we learn in school, obviously, but to really get into his philosophy and opinions, you know, to borrow the name of his book. And, you know, from there, I remember even having one conversation with someone a worker, one of the staff members at the Liberty Hall in Kingston. And we were having a discussion, and I was just asking, you know, like, for those of us who we know that we have some mixed people, such as myself, you know, I'm not a dark black skin tone, so obviously there's some mixture in my lineage. And I say, how do you know, how do we people who are mixed or whatever, you know, really, just how do we reconcile that within ourselves and what we are here to do? And the question that she asked me was, which side do you think needs the help? And that was it from there on. And I really started to really think deeply about Marcus Garvey's philosophies from that day on, you know. So that was really it, you know, really a short while ago, but in a very potent way, and has definitely informed, you know, the work that I do.
Give thanks for that sharing, Bookman. And so yes, so relatively recent in adulthood has been your experiences. All right, I am going to now go on and ask if Kalila Rose, if we can move to Kalila's screen. So Kalila.
Greetings, blessings.
Greetings. Every time. And so tell us, what was your, when, where, how were you introduced to Garvey and his teachings?
Well, I was introduced through my family to very important RasTa men, which are my uncles, and through Daddy Stone, we call him, and Uncle Vernon. And on the wall in one of the rooms in our home, there was a poster of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And on the poster was Garvey, and the images, I'm not sure who was the artist at the time, but the images were images that, like, with prophecies, images of like the Twin Towers, and these were things. And I was very young. I was like 12 years old or 13 years old. And there was a quote, up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. So that just stuck with me. And I always would sit down and just watch the poster over and over. And I asked questions about Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And that was my first like introduction, and just having this love and this passion for just being for Marcus Garvey and being a Garveyite.
Ashe, good. From a youth, yes, took that initiative to ask the questions from seeing a poster, visual recognition. All right, asking now, moving on to Kabaka. Greetings, Kabaka Pyramid, and welcome. And tell us what, when, and how was your first introduction to Garvey and his teachings?
Well, greetings, you know. I just want to say blessings to all the ones, you know, involved in this mighty event, and everyone tuning in, you know, both locally and internationally. You know, I decided to forward outside and get some of the sunlight. And of course, somebody started running a saw immediately as we're about to start doing the talking section in the background. So I hope it's not too loud, but as a youth still, you know, growing up and going to school, you would learn about national heroes and Marcus Garvey being the first hero. But I always have a issue with how the education system approaches Marcus Garvey in Jamaica. I don't think there's enough emphasis that's put on his legacy and the importance to where we're at now, and even just Black people in the Western world, not just in Jamaica. You know, you don't really learn about the fullness of his impact. And it's really just through Rastafari, I you know, end up learning and starting to seek out the works of Marcus Garvey through musical ones like Sizzla Kalonji really opened up my eyes to Rastafari, and you'd always hear about the prophet, the priest, and the king. And you start from the prophet to find out who did prophesy about the coming of his imperial majesty and a black king. And with them time internet they about now, I'm about 16, 17, and you start to look up all these things online. Cause no for we never really have the elders them around with for reason with at a certain point in our life and things. So we'd just look up and start to study, the role that Marcus Garvey played in the whole scheme of things, and his view on Africanness and the impact and how he inspired like Leonard Howell and Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and all these great ones. And yeah, it's really around them time that through the journey of Rastafari we really get that initiative to say, oh, I could see what Marcus Garvey really did a deal with. And I was fortunate enough to do a tour of the residents in St. Anne's Bay, and attend lectures and speaking engagements at Liberty Hall, similar to Dottie Bookman. And yeah, it's some mighty works, and we just really give thanks for that inspiration and knowing say there would probably be no Rastafari and none of all of this what you're seeing right now without the spark of Marcus Garvey. So yeah, we just give thanks for that. And yeah, that's how my story really ends too,
Give thanks for that sharing. And yes, I agree. And I think many of us can agree. And we're going to go through the reasoning as we talk about how, Garvey is presented in education and in school, particularly in Jamaica. Kwasi Bonsu, attorney and founder of the Jamaica Music Conference, who's doing some amazing things within the creative sector as well. Kwasi, we greet you and we welcome you, and give us a sharings of your story and of your introduction to Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
Yes, can everyone hear us? Can everyone hear I?
Yes.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Yes, first and foremost, I greet everyone in that divine name. His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I and His Royal Queen Empress Menen. I want to just give love and honor to the organizers of this event. Very necessary reasoning in the context of what's happening globally via the Black Lives Matter and the awakening of global Black consciousness that is happening. We are very fortunate to have a man like Marcus Garvey, who rose out of Jamaica, out of the Caribbean, to have such a massive impact in North America and around the world. My first introduction, as a matter of fact, I don't think I remember a time I didn't know about Marcus Garvey, because my father had a little plate that used to sit on top of the TV with a picture of Marcus Garvey, one of them kind of plate you would get at a tourist thing, would have a mount, and you rest the plate, and it had one aim, one God, one destiny, or one God, one aim, one destiny, and a picture of Marcus. And my father was a staunch Pan-Africanist. So, that was kind of my groundation. But as a youth, we never really take on to the Pan-African thing as much. You had it in the background. It was just kind of your identity, but it wasn't something that necessarily you really studied deep into it. Also, he had books about Marcus Garvey in the home. So, I was very familiar, but not in depth, just very surface. It wasn't until I attended Howard University in Washington, D.C., where I still currently reside, that I really started to go in depth and actually read the philosophies and opinion. And that was, again, because of the journey into Rastafari, studying His Imperial Majesty, being among the elders of, Rastafari. We were very blessed in Washington, D.C., that we had Nyabingi elders that were here. We had Mama Faraika, Ras Iris, Brother Jack, some legendary elders, Ras Marcus. We had some legendary elders that were here, Ras Pido. So we learned, from them about Marcus, and we would hear the oral history. Mama Faraika used to work very closely with Amy Jakes Garvey, so we would hear about those testimonies from the elders, some of them who had seen Marcus Garvey in the flesh. So that brought, the teachings more to life. But I was personally amazed when I actually read the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey, how globally in touch he was. And I think a lot of us, when we look at Marcus Garvey, we really kind of just know the catchphrases, and we don't know how in depth and how rounded he was in terms of philosophy, in terms of economics, in terms of culture, in terms of spirituality. And that to me, really changed my approach to life, and how I approach Africa for the Africans, those at home and abroad. I'm also a board member of Habesha, which is a nonprofit that does a lot of work in Ghana. And, one of the philosophies that we had was helping Africa by establishing schools at home and abroad. That's what Habesha is an acronym for. So in everything that we have done, Marcus Garvey was there. I was blessed to be a founder of the Universal Development of Rastafari, one of the founding members as well. And again, Marcus Garvey has been a part of that. So everything that we have done, the institutions that I've been blessed to be a part of from their inception, Marcus Garvey has been a guiding light. And I will leave by saying, I still think we have not fulfilled the great vision and the direction that Marcus Garvey had for Black people. And we'll, I know, get more in depth, but that's where I'm on seal.
Ashe, yes, we give thanks for that. And so you have been exposed from the youth, which is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And I hope many of us can say that now that we have found Farai, in addition to, right, the teachings of Garvey, that we are also bringing the youth to these sightings and to these overstandings. Raven Amani, you're up. Tell us about your experiences and introduction to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Unmute yourself. Let's see. Oh, I have to unmute. Oh, gotcha. Uh-huh.
All right, so yes, very much fascinated. Got fascinated later on in life as well, um, because I was raised in a cult essentially. There was no radio, no TV, no television, no computers, no cell phone, a lot of restrictions, and but I knew that I was creative, and I found my creativity pretty early. But I was told that my place as a female would be in the home, and very, I would say, suppressive of whatever ideas or dreams I might have for myself. Those were not being fostered. And so I pretty much ran away from home and started my creative journey. Now, when I came up with the idea for Jamaica's best school band, I was in no position at all to be doing a project of that nature or magnitude. I heard that you don't have a name in the industry, you're not a music teacher, you don't know enough about music, you don't have any contacts in the school. All these things was seemingly supposed to be a deterrent. And I had to go and search. I had to dig deep, I had to search within myself. Am I really supposed to be the one doing this? And on that search, there has to be some deeper truths about us as people, um, and all of that. And so when I went on this deeper search, I came across Marcus Garvey and found all of his accomplishments, all the things that he's about. And one of the quotes that really got me going was the one that said, if you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in, in the race of life, right? And so I then that was kind of one of the first things I had to start to cultivate was confidence in myself and my abilities and realized that if I got the idea, it means that the creator, the Most High, the divine powers understand that I have the ability to carry out this mission here. And so with that and what I and more research and more, digging deeper into the teachings and as I said, the accomplishments, I found the drive. And not only was it that I was going to just, read the quotes and listen to the teachings, but I had to channel that energy, that energy that he had, because it always fascinates me that there was no internet around, there was no social media, and he was able to connect so many people and form all these organizations, and was so enterprising, and it was, that alone in itself was just so inspirational to me. So yeah.
We give thanks. Up ye mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. And so that sounds like that quote, in addition to the one that you quoted, certainly has been part of your livity. Beautiful thing, beautiful thing. As Athrazar, please share with us your introduction and sightings of Garvey. Unmute, unmute.
I started off by saying I grew up in Jamaica, and so you'd have thought I had a good introduction to Marcus Garvey, but I didn't have one there. I didn't have one here when I first came here. I was interested in being a professional, advancing, but I think when I started to look at the condition of Africans in America, and I started to think about what can really be done, I didn't go first to Garvey. I went to, We Need to Unite. And then I started to hear more about Pan-Africanism. I knew about Garvey in a cursory way, but I think it became, Pan-Africanism seems to me, that's the solution. That is the way forward, or solidarity. If we can organize like he did back then with so few resources, what's stopping us is that we're splintered. So I really want to learn from him and how we can come together.
Good word to use to follow through on the teachings. And I believe it was Kwasi who said we still have not necessarily realized his teachings as of yet. And last but definitely not least, Wiedemeyer, please share with us, because I know you are a strong Garveyite from 19 how long?
Yeah, greetings one and all. First, just want to say, give thanks to everyone for coming out. Want to thank my panelists, Kabaka, Dottie Bookman, Kwasi, Kalila. Also want to thank Raven and Athrazar and everyone. All right. I was born...
Somebody mic a feedback.
I was born and raised in Jamaica. And I came here at the age of 14 to New York. And in Jamaica, it's majority Black people. Came to a majority Black high school, graduate high school, went to university, dropping a majority white university. Like, after 4 years of university, won't call the school name because I'm not give them no promotion, but it's supposedly a big school. After 4 years of university, it's like, I was traumatized, seriously. Like, I hated myself. I was full of anger in here because all I saw was white images. All I learned about was white people. I got Jamaica in 1995, and I hear a song from Sizzla Kalonji, I have no white God, don't teach her anything wrong. And it had me being introspective, you know. And the same year I came back home and to the US, and someone from Jamaica came up and they were in the mall shopping. And they asked me, you know, they'll buy me anything I want. And we were walking past the bookstore. And I was like, want a book? And I walk in the bookstore and I saw Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. And the spirit tell me, say, pick that book up. You know? And I picked that book and read it. And from I read that book, it's like my entire life has been about one thing. And that is the upliftment of Black people. I just forget self, forget everything I was on, everything I was doing. And it's like, from then, it's like, the works of Garvey. You know, Garvey bring I to Rastafari. After Sizzla say, I have no white God, and it had me thinking when Garvey say, you know, see God through your own spectacles. Right away, I remember the Rasta man, Bob Marley, who always I say, greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty. And it's like, so that's how me start search His Majesty. So it's like, without Marcus Garvey, I wouldn't be the person I am today, nor where I am today, you know. So, yeah, man. We carry him name, Marcus Garvey Revolutionary Guards, like, yeah, I walk with Garvey as I walk with His Majesty, you know.
Yes, we give thanks for that sharing. And just as we move on to the next set of questions, I just want to share that mine was in second form, I think it was, in civics and geography in Jamaica, learning about our national heroes. But teacher who seemed to, now in hindsight, had a definite Pan-Africanist approach to life. And I don't think that she was necessarily allowed to get that deep, but she did talk about Garvey's impact around the Caribbean. And she did talk about this man in America who had this ship, this is how I remember it, who was taking back Black people, who had intended to take Black people back to Africa. And that raised an interest in my spirit, because for as long as I can remember, I've just known that there is something for repatriation. And to this day, I mean, my three favorite of the Jamaican heroes is Sister Nanny, Paul Bogle, and definitely Marcus Mosiah Garvey. But that was my introduction. And I give thanks. I remember her name. Her name was Miss Alexander, that she gave us a little bit more depth on these heroes and these people, but she spent a good amount of time on the works and the teachings of Marcus, and that held strong in me for the last almost 40 years, wink, wink. And so that was my first introduction to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. All right, so now that we know how everybody got introduced, let us reason. After, and this is going to be an open question, so I am going to go ahead and ask our panelists, if you think you want to answer, unmute yourself and jump right in, right? After his travels from country, St. Anne to town, to Costa Rica, to Panama, Ecuador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Colombia, Venezuela, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, and seeing the treatment of Black people, particularly workers, Garvey asked these questions. Where is the Black man's government? Where is his king and kingdom? Where is his president, his country, his ambassador, his army, his navy, his men of bigger affairs? And I sum that up as his militia, right? Where are these? So this was his statement. So where are we as a people, Rastafari people, non-Rastafari people, Black people, people of the African diaspora? Where are we with these messages today, particularly in the music? And where do we think we are also relative or in real life? Let me see who's unmuted first, and we're gonna go there. Oh, don't unmute all at the same time.
I can. since everybody's shy to deal with this one,
give thanks.
We can kick it off. Well, you know, some very poignant questions the great man asked at them point in time. And these questions we've all asked ourselves. You know, what is the objective for Black people in the West? Because the narrative that we have been given is that, you know, we were taken from Africa and brought over here, which I do believe to a large extent is true. You know, there's also information stating that a lot of Black people were here in the West also, and that, you know, the Europeans made efforts to eradicate I from these regions, as well as the, you know, Native Americans, so to speak. But as far as where is the, you know, to answer those questions directly, we have to look to Africa. You know, because obviously we cannot depend on these governments in the West at the moment. You know, most of them are, you know, puppets for Western powers, for European powers, American powers. Still under, especially here in Jamaica, we're still under a colonial system. So obviously there's no dependence on the government to have real interest in uplifting Black people, especially Black people in poverty. You know, so there's a lot of same effects still taking place in Africa with a lot of nations there. I haven't been personally to say from experience, but just observing over the years and doing research and reasoning with ones on the continent. There's still a lot of residue from European influence on the continent. But there are some leaders there that are taking the initiative and have, you know, Black interest, you know, at the forefront of their affairs. So we have to look to those leaders as inspiration as well, and those nations that are willing to accept I from a repatriation perspective, as well as, you know, just recreating the bonds between you know, I in the West and I and the continent. You know, so there's definitely a lot of effort that can be done from that perspective, but we still have to be asking ourselves, you know, where's our identity? You know, a lot of people are still at that stage where we don't have that inner identity with Africa and with our Blackness. You know, I think that is the most important thing, especially as Kwasi mentioned, in light of recent, you know, situations globally, which is really just an echo of things that have been happening over the years, you know, from the days of the civil rights movement to, you know, the days when the war on drugs and all these things and all these different things just to undermine Black people, you know, and when you look at the prison systems and you look at the racial inequality of the convictions and we look at the legalization of marijuana and, you know, the fact that ones are still locked up on marijuana charges, ganja charges, you know, so there's a whole heap of things that we face, and it really starts from I looking within and reestablishing that identity. And, you know, it began with Marcus Garvey asking those very poignant questions. So we have to give thanks for him for that.
Yes. Let me ask, Kabaka, as an international artist, a strong member of the music fraternity of reggae, of RasTa, you know, you talked about that from a real life perspective, but do we still hear these messages in the music pervasively, do you think, in your opinion? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's definitely still in my music.
In your music? Touche, yes, I
can speak for myself, but I mean, the reality is that if you listen to radio and if you go in the dance and thing, whereas at one point in time, these messages were very prevalent, you know, you can't really say the same now. You know, it's only certain ones willing to push the agenda of Black consciousness in terms of playing music. So I have to, you know, give thanks for ones like even Muta Baruch and Elise Kelly and ones like that on the radio, you know, running African show and all of these kind of things that really have the consciousness of Black people at the forefront. And even, you know, ones internationally who have been supporting, you know, message music from that time up until now. But ones like myself, who is really message oriented, still tour the world and still have a high demand for the music and for the message. And it's greatly appreciated everywhere we go, whether we're performing for Black people or other races, you know, the message is still resonates on a high level with people. So, you know, there's still the need for it. And I would love to see it being pushed more, especially on a national level. I think it's in the interest of even governments to push music with certain messages. But we know the motivation behind a lot of these governments is to keep people ignorant so that they can still perpetuate the system. So we know that we are going to get a fight. You know, my reason with a female Rastafari artist where and she has said to me, you know, that I remind her of herself, because the same way when she rise up, them kind of did a fight her and push ones where it's more singing materialistic music, you know, and she said she knows them give my thing a little fight certain way, but she just love how I hold the energy, and them thing that really keep her motivated. You know, say ones out there who go through the fire, you know, respect the thing on that level and the authenticity of it. So I will always keep these messages alive and things. So yeah, just big up to all the artists them out there who are really on the forefront of awakening the minds of the people. And, you know what I mean? And all the ones supporting the artists, to the musicians, the whole teamwork effort behind everything. So yeah, man, they're on the journey same way.
Yes, and that is a fact. That's why we buy your CDs and download your music.
Give thanks.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, Kwasi, I see you're unmuted and you've been patient. Please jump on in, brother.
I want to take that question from a historical perspective first, because at the time that Marcus asked the question, where is the black man government? Remember that there was Ethiopia that was there. So the answer was really there, and it highlights one of the problems that we have as people of African descent, which is tribalism. You know, I've often said, if Marcus had made the focus Ethiopia instead of Liberia, I think there would have been a lot of progress that would have happened if they were able to do that. Because at the time, you know, His Majesty had not yet been crowned. You know, we're talking about the 20s, when it was the height of the UNIA movement from the 1960 going up. But the black man government, to answer that question, was in Ethiopia, and His Majesty had assumed control of the country as regent and heir to the throne from 1923. And there was communication that was going on between the UNIA and then Rastafari. So that's a history that we need to do more about. On the scale that we're talking about, I think that we have to really look at ourselves as a diaspora. You know, there was a 6th region initiative that took place where the diaspora was labeled as the 6th region of Africa. And I think that Black people's salvation and redemption lies in fulfilling the vision of Marcus Garvey, which was the return to strengthen our foundation. You know, there was a time when the Chinese were not very respected around the world, and they were only seen as, you know, laborers, until you had China rise as a world power. And now people look at China and Chinese people differently. So we can see, without a foundation, an economic base, and Africa is our economic base, the source of all the wealth that we could ever imagine, all the minerals that we could ever imagine, they're there in Africa. So I think that what's happening now is that the organizing and the centralizing that Marcus started, that Leonard Howell emulated as a Garveyite, that rose up the Rastafari movement in Jamaica on an economic foundation. I think what's happening now is that we're relearning that original, and we're returning. And in Corona, I can tell you personally, I've been on so many Zoom calls with different organizations, and there is a quiet unification that is happening across organizations in the Black world. There's mobilization that is happening. And I think ultimately we need to harness the power of the diaspora to strengthen the economies of these Black governed countries in Africa, the African Union, We need to strengthen Jamaica, CARICOM as a part of the sixth region and really push that sixth region initiative so that people in the Caribbean identify themselves as parts of the African Union. The sixth region was given seats on the Pan-African Parliament, which is currently housed in South Africa. So there's a lot of information that needs to go out to the people. The tide that's sweeping Africa cannot be stayed. It's very subtle and it's under the radar, but it is happening. There are hundreds, if not thousands of people who are leaving the Americas, the Caribbean, to return to live in Africa right now. It's not being televised. We saw what happened with the year of return in Ghana, where over 1 billion US was generated by Black tourism to the country. So Corona really stopped something that was really underway. Nigeria launched a program called the Gate of Return. Benin launched a program called the Door of Return. I think it was a Door of Return or something like that. But the point is that Africa has started to open her arms to the diaspora. The diaspora is reaching out to Africa. So in answer, to bring it all around to Marcus's question, where is the Black man government? I still think we're in the infancy stage, but everything that we need and everything that we require already exists. What it needs is strengthening. We need to hold our governments accountable to the people. And the only way we can do that is through coming together, which is currently happening. Finally, the music. I want to big up Kabaka. I was doing some research before I came on this call and I was listening to Babylon is Falling. And, I'm a Kabaka pyramid supporter from in the early days. We had Kabaka on our first event that we did in Jamaica in 2012, just to show you, say it's not a mouth talk. You understand? At Tony's Bar. I don't know if Kabaka remember them settings there,
Can't forget them things there.
So from
long
them
time sitting.
Yeah, so Kabaka, Dottie Bookman, the reggae revival movement, I think has tried to infuse that energy. Because remember, we had a reggae revival prior with Sizzler, Anthony B, Capleton, all of those artists that rose up and lit the fire under my generation. When I was going to Howard, that's what we were listening to. So Kabaka, Chronix, Protege, Jesse Royal, John Nine, Kalissa, Empress Sativa, there's so many of them now that we can't even list out all of them. John Nine, they are now rising up this generation. So there's a whole new generation of people that are seeking the teachings, that are going to our independent distributors like iNation, our independent publishers like Bookman Express, and getting the knowledge, getting the philosophies, opinions, and all them things there. And with that, I seal. I'm an attorney, so I chat enough, So you have to just make a timekeeper tell me what I go on. But I'm ready. Come ready.
Or there's always the mute button. No, I mean just a joke. Yeah, man. No, but that's a good word. So I just want to read some of the statements that are in the chat. Contraband on repeat. Yeah, Reggae Avengers. And I'm gonna ask Jabi, Doctor from Dark Foundation, who had his hand raised. Jabi, if you wanted to, it seems like you wanted to weigh in here, please join the discussion.
Yes, give thanks. Maximum respect. Love, sir. Maximum respect to the panelists and to the hosts and the hostesses and what have you. First and foremost, I want to echo the sentiments that was brought forth by Deja's Masquerade just now, where he spoke about the events that was happening in Ethiopia at the time. And indeed, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, and not just him, but the participants and the leadership of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the African Communities League really focus not so much on Liberia, because let's face it, Liberia was a colony of the United States at that time. As a matter of fact, it was established by the American Colonization Society. That is the group that was responsible for the establishment of Liberia as a US colony. But let's rewind a little bit. 33 years ago, I had the opportunity to visit the Schomburg Library. That was on this very day. It was the centenary of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey's birthday. And there was a comprehensive exhibit as to the life and time of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. And, you know, it kind of opened up a whole new consciousness as to what really this thing is all about. And it really echoed once again what Dijazmat stated, because it showed the egocentricity. It also showed the tribalism that literally prevented that merger within the great Rastafari nation, and in particular his Imperial Majesty, who incidentally was the #1 donor to the Universal Negro Improvement Association. No other individual contributed more financially to the UNIA than His Imperial Majesty. And these are information that is not often shared with the broader community. Secondly, it also shows where things went awry over ego. And it is a great lesson for us to realize that at the end of the day, we can't let our selfish ways override the greater good of our nation and our people. Because this is a great example where the peoples of the world were willing and ready and able then to do what was necessary for the greater good of African peoples worldwide. You know, and so fast forward today, you have African countries that are independent, and this independence was basically under the guise of the UNIA to some extent, but specifically under the guidance of Kidamawi Haile Selassie, who from the very onset of Ghana's independence in 1957 through to the South African independence, His Majesty contributed financially to the liberation struggle. And as a matter of fact, the first armed struggle weapon that the Honorable Nelson Mandela attained was given to him by Emperor Haile Selassie, the first gun. And not only did he receive the first gun, he also received military training. So when you say ANC and all this armed struggle, who spearheaded that? Kidamawi Haile Selassie. So what we need to do now, knowledge is the key. And you know, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey speak a lot about propaganda. And propaganda is a key component because there is positive and there's negative propaganda. So we have to be careful that when we propagandize, we do not use the negative propaganda. For example, there's a lot of mythological thing regarding the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. For example, it is said that the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey says, look to Africa where the black man shall be crowned, and in him you'll find the Redeemer. That's a myth. That statement was presented to us by a brother by the name of Reverend James Morris Webb. Not only did Reverend Morris Webb said it, he have a book, The Coming of the Black King. So those who want to go look up the book, it will go in depth as to the essence of Kidamawi Haile Selassie and why Reverend James Morris Webb had that vision. However, you know, sometimes we, you know, Kabaka Pyramid may say something positive, and next thing we know, we give the credit to another artist when it was he who said it. He introduced it in his songs. It's just the same basic thing here. So in closing, you know, as the Jazzman says, sometimes we run from a little bit too much, so we can shut up. Give thanks to love and light and the opportunity to serve.
We give thanks for that sharing, Jabi, and give thanks for your time for jumping on today and putting things into perspective, as well as Kwasi, thank you for that historical perspective as well. You know, somebody, okay, in here I have Tassetti of the group Link and Chain, who says, Garvey's quote, men who are in earnest are not afraid of consequences. And that's going to lead me into the next question. So Garvey said, the new Negro has no fear. True or false today? If you think it's true, how so? If you think it's false, what are we afraid of, and how do we use Garvey's teachings as a springboard for improvements? Greetings, Kalila. Unmute yourself, sis.
Yes. In regards to the new Negro having no fear?
Yes,
Yes, I would say that there is a lot of fear current day, because I feel that Black people are currently being victimized, and we're currently being intentionally attacked. Our psyche, our health, our diet. We're being dumbed down by ignorant music, artists who are doing some kind of behaviors, you know, in the videos that are just unacceptable for I and I. We're constantly being attacked at every direction. So and I find that in order for us to liberate physically, even though there are things happening, a lot of us are unaware about some of the things that's occurring with the UNIA current day. You know, there are movements, they're building a farm in Liberia. The first lady of the Liberia is a Jamaican woman, and born Jamaican. These kind of things we are physically doing the work, but until we mentally come out of and break free from all these shackles that are around us, caused by our everyday life, even just the cell phone calcifying our pineal gland, all these things that our food being so acidic, we're constantly being attacked. And I feel that the fire, even in the music, a lot of the artists today, I find are kind of dumbing down their music, but because they're more concerned about pleasing a certain market instead of carrying out the message to open the minds of their people. So I wouldn't say that today's new Negro, maybe the new Negro at the time when Garvey was rising up the UNIA, to me had a little more militancy, but today's new Negro, but with Corona, a lot of Black people are now accepting to be Black, and there's a lot of new Black people. So I see a stronger movement current day, but until we start to really look into these things that are dumbing down our people and really stop, especially if you're a musician, you have to keep the fire burning, especially if it's reggae. You know, there's no excuse for that, because this is music of liberation. I feel that we have a long way to go, even though we're moving quickly with this Corona business still. I'm finished.
Yes, I. And so I just want to read some of the messages that we see here. Blaze, talk the truth, sister. Them say, when message I go, LOL. I want to, what's the other one? Black Holocaust. And, you know, anybody else want to weigh in quickly on the new Negro and fear? Because we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard a yes. I'm sorry, I don't see.
Wida Maya.
Okay. Wida, go ahead.
Man. Fear. Garvey said fear is a state of nervousness fit for children and not men. When a man fears a creature like himself, he offends God, in whose image and likeness he is created. Man being created equal fears not man but God. To fear is to lose control of one's will, one's nerve, to flutter around like a dying fowl, yet alive. When Garvey talking about the new Negro, I think he's trying to inspire us. I don't think he's talking about a state of is. I think he's talking about a state of will be. You know, he's telling us how we are supposed to be. You know, because currently, Black people are afraid to stand up for them rights just on a daily basis. You know, and me I talk all around the world, except for the few among us who always speak the truth, and you have the prophets of every age who keep the people enlightened to what are going on. You know, whether the griots in Africa just come up, you always have those who try to inform people of the truth. But as far as fear is like, when you say certain things, the first thing people tell us, say, yo, if you keep talk like that, something are gonna happen to you, you know, them are gonna do something to you, you know. The people them full of fear, and because them full of fear, they rather Barker say it or Kalila say it or whoever say it, and then them listen to it and say, yeah man, are true. Than them for go out themselves. Because they know, Because how you know truth is because you already know when you hear truth, you recognize it. So when the people them take onto the message, them already know the truth. But it's not many of them willing to go out and speak the truth, and it's because of the fear.
Yeah, I would add into on that. Yeah, I feel like I agree with everything what I and what Kalila say. There's a lot of fear of repercussion with whole heap of things. We talk about in this day and age, and in recent epochs of time, we talk about freedom of speech, but we know that in reality that don't really exist. We know that Babylon is watching everything that is being said, and movements of people and movements in general have been infiltrated over the years based on the potential impact of ones with certain message. So I think right now, as Kwasi said, there is a whole heap of discussions happening amongst I and I in the quiet. And I think that is where a lot of the work has to be done, because when Babylon planning them future events, we don't know when them planning. We don't know when them in them meeting rooms are discuss, with all the different leaders of different nations who they claim to be at war with each other, and the Democrats and the Republicans and all of these people in them meeting room, and them Masonic, the Masonic meetings and all of these things discussing the future of the planet. We don't know these things. All we see is the effects. So it's time we establish them thing here, them principle here amongst ourselves, and the necessity to come out in the public and say everything and say what the black man is thinking is not really there in this time. No, we can actually plan and actually do work. So I think it's more about doing the work now than pretending to be fearless in the public eye. I think there's less value to that now. In previous times, that was more valid, because one's the need for see certain things and one's the need for see certain examples set. But now I think it's about actually doing the work and getting the work done more than talking,
No long talking, get the works to be done. All right. I saw a hand raised from Herushu Rastafari. Herusha, unmute yourself and join the discussion.
You have to unmute them, Martin.
Okay.
Asante Sana, you can hear, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie, Rastafari, and the great High of Messiah Garvey. On the note of fear, yes, quite recently we got some news that Elizabeth II has abdicated. And unfortunately, all of the videos were from not Negro people. So not Saturday gone, the Saturday before, I decided to take a little walk to Buckingham Palace to go and see for myself, and put it on Instagram and put it on YouTube. Very loud and clear, her seal is gone. Elizabeth is gone. Does that mean we will get a new king in England? Quite probably so, but even on that term, to answer the first question, I think our focus today should be upon putting our Negus and Negis on the throne in Ethiopia, and with my art as the law. That should be our focus as a people, and a whole as a nation. Our children need a king and queen in our community to look up to. And I think our greatest fear is not putting another king and queen on the throne in Ethiopia. And I think until we address that, we're still going to be lost as a community. We really need to get to work. And that's just my input for the evening. Much love to everyone. Blessed.
And we give thanks for that. Thank you for the strength from the UK as well as the information from the UK. And yes, we do have to, it's time for us to put in the work. Keith Magazine, our friends in Jamaica, you have your hand raised. Welcome, welcome. Let me unmute you. and please join the dialogue.
Blessings. Yeah, you know, sorry about that. But yeah, body here now, right? All right, so just to add to what we did say, you know, kind of believe that fear is just a figment of the imagination still, you know. You kind of instill fear in yourself. So if you as a black man fear to go out there and make everybody know that you is a black man and you are fight for the right, you understand? You are fight for unity, you are fight for the whole idea and the whole ideology of that which Garvey teach or did a teach us, because even though Garvey not there in our body with you right now, I'm still there in our spirit, in our thoughts, and in written words. I understand we still like learn from all of that. So right now, more also say there are certain things too, or more state. You understand me as a youth, you have whole heap of youth like me out here, well, have the reasoning, have the understanding, and know what them is about. You understand? The only thing what we really need is an avenue to really get it out there. You understand? So you have a young army, I go say, right out here. You understand? Blades sharpen, everything ready. We just need the right leader to really show us that, all right, this is how we are going to accomplish the unity as Black people, and this is how we are going to push forward and get the mission done and accomplished in a the right way, because there's an avenue for do it right now. There's a lot of oppression going on in the world right now as regards to what going on with Black people. Yes, but guess what now? We can't pray that neither, you know, because if we pray that, we go always hold on yourself. Because I guess what now is a simple logic straight, you know. If you think of a solution, you can only get a solution. But guess what now? Yes, if you focus on a problem, there's only one thing will go forward in your mentality, you know, and that is a problem. Get what I'm saying? So what we really need to really do right now, as Pyramid say, I really stop the long talking and really get out there and do what we need for the understand. We as youths there are ready, we're willing, and we're able. We have whole heap of power in our way, and we're strong. You understand how I say we're ready for the work. So I just we even put it together, put the knowledge together, give you a spirit and make you know say, all right, unity is strength and accomplish what we need to accomplish. All right? Blessed.
Yes, sir. Can I add to that, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Keith, Garvey said we must organize, you know. So instead of waiting for a leader, if you have an army, just organize your army around what you can do in your community. Like you said, just look for the solutions and try solve just even one of the problem in your community, you know? 'Cause that's kind of what we did. Like when we started the African Culture School, we didn't have a building, nothing. We started out in a public park. We just, the parents them just drop off them youths in the park and we just sit down in the park and we just go and reason and teach youths them until it grow, till somebody donate to us, them have a space we can use and it just take time grow. So it's just taking the initiative, you know, to find one thing where honor can solve and just go into it and just say, you know, let us figure out how we can make a difference with this.
Yes, yes. Take the lead, take the initiative. And we're going to close out with a question that talks about that, because I know many of us here are taking the leads and taking the initiatives. So I want to read a couple of the comments that will lead us into our next kind of segment of discussion about Garvey and his teachings and the messages. So Don L, and I think this is a brethren of mine from up north in New York. If that is you, salute. If it's not you, salute anyway. Money motivation instead of family and community motivated. Dwayne Extreme says the new Negro is afraid to admit the underlying fears they hold, which makes us as a nation more fair. And that is true. That is so true. And I have on the here Galaxy Note 8 is the author of actually a festival song that was called Daddy Marcus. He came to free us. Greetings and blessings, Mr. McDowell. We welcome you to this reasoning. K Bless says, even this pandemic is based on fear. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Kaz said, we are constantly targeted, killing ourselves and killed by others, creates trauma which needs healing to move on. Habesha, greetings, Habesha Inc. Bless up for the reasoning, much needed work have to continue, so no long talking. Tasetti said, let the Black agenda be your leader. Once you, and I'm so sorry, I'm struggling with the name, Athrazar, forgive me, brethren. Once you have the community, you can start the work. And so I'm gonna stop right there because the question, so, you know, we were just talking about, in some of the comments talked about economics and the love of money, and no conscience for family and community. So I want to talk about the economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, and the music industry, because that's this kind, you know, we're talking about a lot of things, but it's also important because this is about the messages in the music. And Kalila talked about some of the things that were coming out in the music that were not appreciated by many of us, myself included. I don't play certain things on my show. I don't invite certain guests onto my show, and that is a fact, right? And I definitely don't buy certain music. And as a matter of fact, today I unfollowed an artist that I used to really like and respect, but that's just too much, and I cannot have those images into my mental zone. Excuse me. So let me ask this question. Since Garvey's original sightings of the plight of the Black race and his involvement in the Harlem Renaissance, which we have quite a few people here that are in the New York space, we have quite a few people here, greetings Atlanta, I know you're in the house as well, that are here in the North American space, and this is where a lot of the work happened as well. So since he had those sightings of the plight of the Black race and his involvement in the Harlem Renaissance and the cultural rebirth, how does the global music industry reflect progress or stagnation since then?
Can I jump in on that one?
Absolutely.
Just to give some context, ones may know I'm an entertainment attorney by profession, but also, you know, we founded the Jamaica Music Conference in 2013. So we just had our 7th staging of the Jamaica Music Conference. And, you know, since the inception of the conference, we're now the #1 music conference in the Caribbean. Since our inception, and we had over 1,000 attendees at our last conference over 4 days. So we're a growing conference. We're still relatively small, but we're growing. Our focus has been the independent artists, and what Marcus Garvey spoke about was self-reliance. And I think there's been a trend in the global industry for artists to take control of their destiny, to own their masters, to start their labels. I think Kabaka Pyramid is a great example because he's also industry executive because he's a co-owner of Bebel Rock label and production company as well as an artist. So he's not just coming as and a lot of the younger artists and the established artists are taking ownership over their careers and over their business. So you have a lot more Black owned entities. Now we still have a far way to go. The majors still dominate the industry in terms of streaming, in terms of mainstream radio, but there definitely is a push for independence in the music industry globally. Jamaica, we're a little bit behind the global curve. And I think part of that is the education gap. We have a lot of young people in Jamaica who come to the industry from the inner city or from the rural community where the talent is really based. And there may be an information gap. So this is why, as a Jamaica Music Conference, we were very adamant about having the conference in Jamaica and really, you know, being a resource for a young artist that wants to, you know, to have a career, to know what is publishing. How do I set up a publishing company so I can own my royalties and not have to be dependent? And the music industry was built off of exploitation of artists. The word exploit is even in the, you know, the recording contracts of old. That has slowly started to change, but we're dealing with an industry that was set up to exploit artists. So I think with the global uprising, with the internet, with the digital revolution, the need to not rely on brick and mortar product, which, you know, inventory costs a lot of money. Distribution is digital, so you don't have to have trucks to distribute anymore. So a lot of the barriers to entry that used to prohibit artists from being more involved in their careers are no longer as present as before. So artists are able to gain mastery. So I think we're moving in the right direction, but we still have a long way to go.
So yes, and venues and opportunities and things like the Jamaica Music Conference does help to propel us in that way. And yes, we do have a long ways to go. Someone or someone's ones and ones, please share your thoughts on where Jamaica's music industry is in relation to the global industry overall, and at what levels of economic empowerment and entrepreneurship exist for us and through us. Because that's always a question, and we hear, you know, Andrea Davis of International Reggae Day, in my opinion, summed it up well. She said, Jamaica tends to be the factory where it is created, and the rest of the world are the consumers. Any thoughts, particularly from our entertainment attorneys, our musicians, our artists, our producers? Kabaka, please.
Yeah, man. I had to switch location because my battery was dying. But yeah, I definitely feel like Jamaica is still, in certain ways, at the forefront of the music industry. Obviously, different, you know, genres of music still borrowing from our influence, you know, and are flourishing. You know, you can speak to reggaeton in Latin America. You can speak to Afro beats, you know, using similar kind of rhythmic sounds, you know, to dancehall and some of our melodies and styles and thing. And, you know, we love it because I love it. I don't have any problem with these things because obviously, you know, reggae and dancehall music has been borrowing from other genres, you know, before and over the years. So it's always an amalgamation, you know, these genres and these things we call music, you know. But at the same time, I do think that Jamaica we have to step up certain things. There are certain governmental agreements that are still not in place that prohibit like Spotify from being accessed in Jamaica. And Apple Music was recently, you know, made available in Jamaica, but I believe the iTunes store is still something where you can actually go and buy the music. It's still unavailable. And these are things that, you know, it's just things that the government need to go to Parliament and pass, you know what I mean? And just debate over it and pass it. And we see how much years now will go by without them simple things are being done. So, you know, you really have to wonder, but Jamaica is still at the forefront creatively. You know, we see where obviously the versus with Bounty Killer and Beanie Man was the most watched one, and it really changed the whole level of that platform.
And the most disrespected. I don't mean to cut you, but the most.
No, we have to talk about Billboard. You know, them put out the graphic, you know, with versus and never include Bounty and Beanie. So obviously we see the disrespect over the years, and we know a lot of these things come down to, you know, certain communities which still have a stronghold within the entertainment industry. And due to the content and the vibration in our music, you know, we're still being held back on a major scale, you know, due to us expressing our freedom of speech over the years. And there's still certain stigmas within the music, even though, you know, a lot of those kind of expressions have been limited, which maybe one's attribute to fear and thing like has been mentioned before. But at the end of the day, you know, they still a fight the music. You know, you man have to sugarcoat it. We still a get a fight. And yeah, I think that's still a major issue. And, you know, but on the positive side, you know, the live streams in Jamaica are still, you know, at a high quality level. You know, we just did one with Chronix and his team out in Ocho Rios where and the production value is at a very high standard. You know, so big up to all the production companies who support in the music. And yeah, we just have to continue to aim higher, you know, when it comes to all the levels of how we're dealing with things. You know, we have to look at what is the international standard of how we're dealing with our productions and make sure, say, our thing up to standard, because we don't want anybody looking at our thing and saying, yeah, them Jamaicans, they're talented, but, you know, the thing not look good, or the videos, them not look good, and these things. So, you know, we big up to the artists, them who are investing, and the teams and the labels and everybody with interest who's investing serious money into the music and who's paying professionals what they deserve to be paid, you know, so that we can keep the thing alive and keep the thing progressing. But there's a heap of progress happening in Jamaica, but we still have certain things where we need to sort out.
Yes, Bookman, you're unmuted. Did you want to jump in? Yeah, man. And
but
then
Bookman there, long time when I hear from Bookman.
Yeah, I really wanted to listen more than I speak this time, because I did have the pleasure of being on the previous panel by Black Iowa and Live with Dinner. And you know, I like to learn, you know, so I was really just soaking in all the information coming in from different directions. But one of the things I wanted to bring up was, you know, even with, I really felt, you know, like when Reggae Revival was at its most potent in the media, it had this like 15 minutes of fame moment. I feel like there was so much you could have accomplished with that moment, you know, because, and that was even part of the reason why I kind of hinted to the reason why I coined a name for it, because I wanted people to look up the other thing, which was the Harlem Renaissance, which inspired giving this thing a name, because the Harlem Renaissance, that was the whole Garvey energy right there. This was the migration of Negroes from the south of the US, seeking more liberties, greater rights, migrating to the north, and finding themselves, or at least one community among them, concentrated in this place named Harlem, New York. And what we saw happening there, this is what I really wanted to get across, you know, was that it was not just the explosion of the arts. It was an explosion of intellect. It was an explosion of patronizing our own arts. So it's not just on the artists them alone. You get what I say? Reggae Revival came around, and the artists, I mean, everybody have flaws, but I can say when I look back down the years, the artists did everything they could to inspire our generation and to show us how to move forward as a people. The unity on the stage is unparalleled. You can't find this in the previous revivals. You get what I say? And even if ones have differences, nothing ever comes out in the open. We don't bring business to the public sphere, right? These are things that have elevated us. So I have to give kudos to the artists there. Now, on the point of Garvey, I do believe Garvey, right now, wherever he is, he's looking upon the black race, and he's laughing a very hearty laugh, you know. He might laugh after we, you know. I'm telling you the truth, because the man said, black man will not know themselves until them back is against the wall. And now we're back against the wall. Babylon are pushing through the wall. We're out of breath, and we still not know ourselves, right? Give thanks. I'm very encouraged to hear, you know, like ones like Posse, who I know is very connected with a lot of institution building in the same vein as Garvey, to say that there's a lot of things happening quietly, and that is really encouraging to hear. Yet still, just to go back to the lessons of even just revival, right? Our media people, they trivialize the whole Reggae Revival thing, right? Into just talking about who was on the stage at this party and is a Reggae Revival artist, and that's it. when we were trying to encourage people to discuss the deeper depths of what this movement really is. And even Barker sing a song named The Revival and try to tell people in verse with his own words that is so many things other than the music going on. And still our media people trivialize it and our gatekeepers trivialize it. And so who is to blame? Who is to blame, right? How was it that we did not reach to a point where we were even starting to think front? How comes we never had any discussions about what distribution methods can we build within ourselves so we don't have to rely on Spotify, Apple Music, and all of these people? Obviously, it exists and it's a way to get out to the rest of us who are not playing our role. And so Marcus Garvey laughing a very big laugh after we right now. That's really what I wanted to say. And we're not even thinking about what is the standard that we can set, because we are the trendsetters. We can set a standard in how business is even being done with our products. You get what I say? So these are the things that I think we're not thinking about still, and I don't hear it out there. You know what I mean?
I give thanks for that message, because as a member of media, I get a lot of whatever for various reasons, but primarily because I believe that I'm a gatekeeper, because I believe that it is my responsibility to expose myself, my community, my children to positive messages. And music is always a part of our lives. You don't hear music blasting now just because I'm on the Zoom thing, right? But other than that, there's always, always, always music, and of all genres. And so I agree with you with regard to that. But I also want to talk about, and I'm not speaking anything specifically per se about any of the revival artists, but I want to say that sometimes also our artists become big fish in small ponds, okay? And also don't necessarily engage with who them see as small fish, right? And so I think those are things also that we have to move beyond in terms of some of the ego stuff, because right is right. And if we're sharing a positive message, I mean, the reality of it is this: as a media person, I always need content for my show, right? And as an artist, I would hope that you always need exposure, right? And the reality of it is that we can definitely work together. And I'm not giving exposure to anybody who is talking about underwoman skirt, underwoman dress, the guns, the violence, and all of that. I don't mind a double entendre, but at the end of the day, the nastiness, the slackness, the violence, right? That's not going to come on the show. And I do think that when we find each other, we need to synchronize and synergize and make things happen. That's my soapbox for now. So with that said, Jabi had his hand raised. Jabi, you wanted to weigh in on the industry, the music industry. Jabi, you there? I'm unmuting you.
Hello? Yeah? Yes, I know I unmuted. I was on mute. So.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
one other thing I think we need to look at is how other peoples of the world have catapulted the music to another direction.
So it looks like Jabi may have stepped away. Is there anybody else who
No,
wanted to?
no, Jabi there,
Parliament
man.
needs to, 1 second, Jabi.
Yeah.
Okay, just a minute. So that Kabaka was talking about Parliament doing the work and making some new laws and so on and so forth. And I just want to ask, it's kind of it's a rhetorical question, but how many of us, we's, ones and ones in this circle, in this movement that we call RasTa, are aiming, searching, involving ourselves in the parliamentary process, becoming members of parliament and establishing, being part of those governmental changes, excuse me. So that's my rhetorical question as well, because I think I agree with what you said, Kabaka, but I also see a deficit where sometimes we have a mentality, Rasta no mix up in a this and Rasta no mix up in a that, and we have to make those changes in our community and strengthen our Rastafari communities, but also be parts of evolutionary systems to make those changes, because most of the changes don't come from the outside. It's somebody in there pressing the button and saying, yeah. All right, Jabi?
Rain gone.
I unmuted him.
Yes, you can
Yes,
hear
there
right
you-
now?
yes.
Yes, me on mute for a minute. Yeah, what I'm saying is that there is a little area of it that we must look at, because, you know, when you look at the festivals in the past, it was roots music, where the Rastafari portion of it was apropos. It was the main ingredient, so to speak. But we have a thing now in California called Cali Roots, and the headliners are all white bands. And the white bands, when you look at the chart, they are the one who make the money. How comes?
I can touch on that from what I have learned just interacting with ones in the Cali root scene. They spent a lot of time building their scene. You know, they put in a lot of groundwork. It's just the same in different places in Europe where reggae touched them, and then people in the local scene take on the music and they adapt it to their community and their culture. And so that was what happened. I don't really have a problem with Cali Roots personally. I think that they did a very good job at what they do, and they reach out and pay a lot of respect to the people from the root of it, which is in Jamaica. You know what I mean? I will bring up again from the last reasoning we had, I will bring it up again in this reasoning. I did hear one time on a very public panel, a different festival, a different person who ran a different festival in the United States said on a panel that Rastafari artists them have to kind of tone down, basically tone down Rastaness, because that is not going to get them on the stages here in North America. That is a problem. If somebody have that mentality, that's a big problem. And that is the conditions that we're working with here in North America. That's a fact, you know what I mean? Cali Roots, though, I wouldn't say that.
If I may, I only use Cali Roots as an example. You find it in Sierra Nevada, you find it on Reggae and the Rivers, you find it in Rotterdam, you find it in all across the globe. One of the problems that I've heard from sources that are intermingled within the music itself, that many times we get advances and we just don't show. Many times we bring the shenanigan in the music as well. So what happens is that the good start to make it suffer for the bad. For example, Japan Splash, 80,000 people, black people, the whole of Japan running, then others start getting paid, and it's no show. Some of all of the big people that you know. As a matter of fact, recently a particular artist went to one of the Caribbean island, and them hold on to him because he steal people their money. So this is some of the things behind the scene that needs to clean up, because it is making it bad for yourself and the other ones who are stepping up and doing the right thing.
And I'm not sure how recent is that, Jabi?
Up to 20, what do you say? 19? Because nothing much will go on 2020.
Oh, so you mean up to last year somebody has done that?
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't have anything to say there. What I was going to say was I have heard tales of past generations of Rastafari artists who were very unprofessional. But as far as I know, in my generation, I have seen just pure professionalism. So that's disappointing to hear.
Can I say something? Greetings.
Go ahead.
Oh, you can, okay. For me, not saying that I have a big problem with Cali reggae. I mean, what do you call it? Cali roots, but I do have a small issue with our culture being kind of not stolen, but I feel this is something that is an ongoing situation for us as Black people. And our culture, I don't want to say culture vulture, but I'm trying to remember the correct word to use it. When first of all, there were a lot of roots. From my vision, I've seen a lot of roots artists from Jamaica roots reggae artists were being brought out there in the foundation when Cali Roots was building. And then that was bringing the audience. They were learning from us, watching how we were doing things. And then current day, I see that Jamaican artists, our roots reggae artists, are being weeded out, and now they have their market. So this is something, but I still think that homage still needs to be played to Jamaica and roots reggae. And this is something that occurs, that constantly occurs. And I'm not saying anything is wrong, because they have their market. And when we have our shows in Jamaica, we don't really have so many of those artists, or when we have shows, reggae shows in New York, we don't really have so much of those artists. But I just feel that a homage should be paid to roots reggae and Jamaican roots reggae for showing them the way of and how to market themselves, present themselves, create the music as reggae, roots reggae artists.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
will say,
cultural appropriation, we are
yeah.
seeing significant cultural appropriation. Jabi, I'm gonna ask if I can get somebody else to just weigh in, because our time is running down, and I see Habesha has their hand up. And so I'm gonna ask if we can just go ahead and let Habesha weigh in on this part of the dialogue. Habesha?
Yes, greetings. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, yes.
First of all, give thanks for Black Iowa TV, Wida Maya, the whole team that put this together. And big up all the panelists, Kabaka, Kwasi, Bookman, big up Jabi, and everyone who's been involved. I just want to say two things. One, on this point, this is a very sensitive point for me, because I feel, as the sister said earlier, it is appropriation, and it's been done intentionally. I give an example. I remember in the 90s, Kwasi noticed the group that's called, well, back in the day, I knew them as Soldiers of Jah Army. And I forgot what their names are now, Soldier or something like that. But I remember they used to come to the Nyabingi house in DC, and we used to burn them out, because we saw what they were doing. They were studying I, and we knew where it was headed. We used to put some hot fire on them. And just recently, some few years ago, I saw a big concert, and Soldier of Jah Army was the headliner. And I think Kabaka and Chronics were like, the second fiddles. And I said, how is this? These youth who came in to learn from I, and now they're the ones who having big shows. And I think, two sides of it. First, we have to take responsibility, because again, it's INAC culture, and we have to be jealous of it. We mentioned Ethiopia earlier, and I think one thing that we can learn from Ethiopia and her history is that she's always been jealous of her freedom and her culture. Even if you go to Ethiopia now, they don't allow you to take certain cultural artifacts or certain amounts of cultural artifacts out of the country. You have to have proper documentation. They're jealous of their culture. Many times we freely give our culture out, and we don't think once again about how it's being used or how we're being exploited. So that's first on us. I'll say that. The second thing, the largest audience and the future, particularly of roots reggae and conscious music for Black people, is Africa. I'm here in Ghana right now, and everywhere in Ghana, it's three artists that the people know. They know Culture, they know Lucky Dube, and they know Burning Spear. And of course, Bob is always universal. But I say that particularly for the reggae revival and the new up-and-coming artists who are coming now, Africa is the future. Europe has been the quote-unquote moneymaker for many of the artists in the West Coast and all of that. I think that the artists really need to put their focus on Africa. Africa is not just a place where it's, all poor people and this and that. People have money, people have resources. I encourage reggae artists, roots artists, to put more focus on Africa. We speak about it in our music, but really setting up shows there, organizing things. And I know that ones like Protege and Chronics and others have been doing that. Janine, I don't know if she's still in Tanzania or not, but I know that's the future. And I think that's the direction that I need to go, because Africa loves reggae music and will treat it in a respectful way. Because even as I see the Europeans, you know, you can go to Rome and Italy and all these places and get thousands and thousands, and you get treated the same. Kabaka, I would love for the eye to tell this has been my question. When I speaking or singing certain songs, you know, to Europeans, and it's talking about the plight of the black man and the black woman, do you get the same energy when you around black people and you saying those words? Like, you know, that's always been my thing. How can we you know, it's a feeling we get when, you know, the saying who feels it knows it. When I have that feeling and know it, the music connect us differently. And so I think that it's time for us to, just as Garvey told us to return home, it's time for us to return the music to Africa and make sure that we big up Africa and put our focus as artists towards the continent and making that where the new revival really grows and bends. So I give thanks for that and just wanted to block that sound.
Ashe Bingi.
Give thanks for that reasoning, Habesha. And Kabaka, could you just tell us if it feels different? Because I was at a show with Steel Pulse the other day, and they're singing "Death to Black and White Oppressors," which is one of my favorite songs. And I'm jamming, and there's a whole bunch of white people around me, and they're jamming too. And I turned to my husband and I said, "You think they understand the words?" So I'm just asking in terms of energy.
Yeah, man. Well, we know of the impact of the music in Europe, as Europe is, you know, and has been a prevalent market for reggae music over the years. So there must be something about the music and the message in the music that them resonate with. And what I find is that the typical European that comes to reggae music shows and festivals tends to be a little bit, if I'm going to be fully honest, they tend to be a little bit more aware of certain things than even some of I&I people, unless you're at a particularly roots event or Rasta event, when it just come into, like, you know, the average type of shows and thing, and what kind of content the people really inspired by. I think there's a big market for people who are looking for those messages when we go to Europe and certain places like on the West Coast and thing. Whereas when I touch upon the East Coast in the US, you know, I mean, me just like, you know, which of my songs the sound man them a play, or which songs might play upon like the Jamaican based radio, as opposed to my more message music that at the end of the day is largely white people consuming their music, like financially. So it's a weird little conundrum. But when I do tour in Europe and Africans in Europe forward to the show, the more deeper rootical messages, like songs like Natural Woman and them kind of thing, is the Africans them really resonate with them song there on a deeper level. You know, like the songs just about, you know, like more on the one love kind of frequency and them vibration there, and kind of, I guess, lighter topics, you find that, but still conscious music, you find say Europeans really resonate with them kind of thing there, because there's a lot of awareness about the political systems in Europe. Like how we as Rasta aware of it in the West, they're more involved in what's happening politically, and you find a lot of protests and all of them kind of things happening in a place like France. That's why France love rootical music, you know, because them people that kind of more aware. So yeah, and then you have a lot of ones who them just really identify with our blackness as well on some level. I don't know if it's some karmic thing from some past life or something like that, but them just want to be around our culture. And I think that is a thing where Cali Roots capitalizing on a kind of music from these artists who reaching out to a different culture. You know, as Rashan says, it's like in Africa, we are talk to people of our culture, you know, so we can identify with people of our culture musically on a different level than than the typical crowd of Cali roots. You know what I mean? We know that it started out with a lot of Jamaican accent thing, but it evolved because it's more a punk rock kind of crowd and them kind of thing. And the way how them white reggae bands sing music is, it kind of have a little reggae-ish sound, but it's like, it's pop music. It's like high school falling in love kind of music and them thing there. Every now and then them have a one message song or so, but the culture of the crowds where them appealing to, it appeal to them and the music. So unless we are going to start water down our music to appeal to that crowd, we not going to end up headlining them kind of festival there. Unless you somehow break into the wider American market, like how a Gangzilla, you know, with Welcome to Jammark, break into the wider American market now. So them people, no matter what, them still want to know Wagwan from Gangzilla. You know, whether it's his own music or the Mali influence, we know Gang and his individual greatness already. So it's like, it's different ways to attack that market. But I do agree that for I and I, it's definitely Africa have to be the focus, because Africans understand the culture. Africa, the Caribbean, you know, it's just that I find in the Caribbean, you know, I don't find a big demand for my music in the Caribbean. Just like how I don't necessarily hear my song, them a tear down like Jamaican radio and in the dance them in Jamaica. Because the frequency and the vibration of the people is like, it's feel good music and sexualized music and gun thing and them kind of thing. Things that playing and people's, you know, sensual desires and all of them kind of thing. More lower vibrational frequency music being perpetuated. And even to the point where enough ones who sing certain things even touring even Africa. A lot more than some of the roots artists them as well. You know what I mean? And that is another issue. That is another issue. Like we look at the black movement where start up now or re-emerge in America. And then, you know, only for ones that do certain positive song, and then two you see a song like this WAP song come out now where it's like pornography. You know what I mean? And you look on all of the music we're trending in Jamaica on YouTube, it's pornography. You know what I mean? So we as black people, we have to understand our own people as well. You know, and understand what the psychology of our own people and figure out different ways to attack it. You know, because the thing look dreary right now. The whole thing look shaky. This, when you look on what trending on YouTube in Jamaica, the thing shaky. It's discouraging. You know what I mean? So it's whole heap of work we need to do. You know?
Can I jump in quickly?
Absolutely. Kwasi, so that's Kwasi's voice I hear. And then I'm going to ask Dwayne, you had your hand up for a while. Then Tassetti, you've also had your hand up. And then Jabi from Dark. Okay, so we have 4 in order. And before you jump in, Kwasi, I just want to say to folks that we give thanks for you spending all this time. It's 8:02, and I know that this session was scheduled till 8 o'clock. But the reason in sweet and we are just a go and do it. So if you do need to jump off, the recordings will be available in the next probably 24 hours or so on Black Iowa TV. But we are encouraging you to stay and continue to lend a strength to this dialogue. Go ahead, Kwasi.
This one named Brata, okay, for everyone. But I want to just say in regard to the Cali Roots situation, Cali Roots has recently reached out to Jamaica Music Conference. They are doing an initiative. They have heard the criticism, you know, that they're just appropriating the culture. So they are taking steps to try to highlight the, you know, Jamaica and Jamaican artists to their market and to avail their market that they've built to Jamaica. So there are some ongoing discussions. They've reached out to a few stakeholders in the industry. Bookman has been on a few calls with I too. So to their defense, they are taking steps to remedy what has happened on the basis of their white privilege and not carrying the baggage that, you know, I as Black people. And one of the important things that we have to understand is that we have to retrain our market, because reggae has a huge global footprint, but our market has been trained over the year not to purchase the music. So we get the music through informal channels. So Kabaka may have 10 million people around the world that love him, listen to his music regular, but there's only going to be a small fraction of them that actually pay it. They may be listening to mixtape, they may be on YouTube, they may be getting it through some other means. So we have to retrain our audience. This is one of the key problems. Also, there could be some doctoring of the numbers. It's a fact that the world did not know that hip hop was the world's #1 genre in the world until the streaming era, because the record labels were not sharing that information. So all of this time, people thought rock and roll was the #1 genre. And then when streaming came out and they had to release the numbers, it was apparent that hip hop blew all of the other genres out of the water as the #1 listened to genre around the world. And reggae could be going through some of that in terms of them not releasing all of the numbers. I don't have any facts on that, but we know, as we say, there are powers that do not want the vibration of the people to resonate on a high level. One of the things that Bob Marley was doing before he passed was that he specifically, his last tour was trying to target the Black Americans, and he gave up the arena tour so he could perform in the Apollo and Black venues, because he was wondering where the Black audience was at his shows. So we have a role to play, and I think that we have to hold those platforms like the Cali Roots, all of these people accountable. You know, part of our challenge as Black people is to, you know, really, we can't stop, we can't stop the people from coming and trying to take our culture. What we can do is we can make sure we hold them accountable, make sure that there's some economic benefit that is going to the originators of the culture.
Exactly.
Because music is the heartbeat, just it goes out there. Once you put it out there, people are going to consume it. But what we need to do is we need to have demands that we can ask. A lot of times we come with very vague, kind of disgruntled, you know, opinions and thoughts, and we don't have any concrete ways in which we can extract the things that are due to us. So I want to challenge the music fraternity to really think about, you know, how we can harness not only Cali roots, because remember, reggae is now starting to rise in China. We have sound systems in India, South America. All of these cultures will be.
I want to say something to Kwazi.
Go ahead.
I think Javi did mention a couple of festivals where I have to interject and say Ratatam, Reggae Jam, Uppsala, Reggae and the River has been festivals in my experience over the last few years that have had primarily Jamaican artists on it. So we have to pay respects to them festival for staying true to a certain level to the thing, and by hiring I to do the works in that sense, reinvesting in the culture and sticking to that over the years. So we have to big up them festivals who have been doing it. You know, Reggae and the River get a fight recently because them add Sizzler to them festival, and then you know which community come in and fight that out and things. So, you know, them festival over the years, I haven't gone to a Reggae and the River and see no predominance of any white bands or Ratatam or certain festivals, you know, but definitely Cali Roots and I believe Sierra Nevada, them have work, you know, even though I have performed at both of them, you know, but them definitely have work to do.
Speak it, give credit where credit is due, and challenge the status quo where it needs to be challenged. Dwayne, Extreme. Unmuting, unmuted, join the dialogue.
You hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm doing popularly known as Ras Extreme. I am a recording artist, you know, culturally orientated artist. As a youth, inspired by the reggae revival and going out there and performing and performing and performing, and to hear from other artists where you look towards as, you know, inspirational or inspiration, telling you, say, yo, you need to tone down, and you're not saying anything derogatory, you're not talk bad or anybody, you know, you just express yourself through music, you know. And to hear people you look up to as tell you, say, you have to tone down and change certain things about your style. And in the mere fact is that they inspire you to be that fiery, you know. And to hear the big artists, them, you know, in Jamaica telling you as a youth, say, yo, you need to tone down your thing too fiery, or your thing too this way, or your thing too that way. It kind
Call
of
some name, man. Call some name.
you really want me to call him?
Go on, man. No fear. Garvey said no fear. Who tell you for
John,
calm down?
all right, John, tell me if it tone down, you know. At a show, you tell me if it tone down. I don't know why. I have a song say, I was there when Jesus came. The slave ship, that's his name. Some wicked man come try to tell I them a king and I a slave. But I Egyptian rules tell I say I must be brave, rebellious in ways that keep them system from my brains. I am my ancestors. The big tree has one root. So I carry the anger and the wisdom of them too. So ruthlessly I use the truth to slew the useless fools who use illusions to try capture the minds of every youth. Heights and be free. Heights and be free. And it's like she said, tone down and compared with, but me never, from them time till now, me still not understand what she mean by tone down and compare with we as the revival in the sense, you know? So from them time, from maybe about 2015, me get that beaten, say tone down, and me still, I try to break out of that shell of toning down, you know? Because as them say, black people afraid of themselves, but as a youth on certain heights and you express yourself and you hear somebody where you deem higher than you are, you deem say them inspire you, I tell you say tone down, you know, and compare with we. That kind of know I push for the youth them because we don't understand what that mean. You know, you could have said, all right, you need to learn more, you need to read more, edify yourself more. But when you say tone down, you know, it kind of just push the youth them to the back. Like, we don't have a voice,
Yeah.
we don't understand what go on, you know, we don't play a part in this revolutionary struggle or this revolutionary development. Or
We
this
can
development.
respond to that fire.
So, yeah, man, the youth never get a fight just the same, you know. We get a little fight just the same. I mean, we may not know it all, we may not have it all, you know. We still learn, we still develop, but at the same time, to hear that tone down, you know, that kind of just.
It's a little surprising. It's a little surprising, but what I would always say is always listen to ones where you know have certain experience, but at the same time always take certain thing with a grain of salt and just extract where you can extract. So maybe, you know, them lyrics say what they utter still, I wouldn't really, you know, tell the eye to tone it down. But at the same time, I can tell you about songs that I have done where I say certain things. And it's like, not that I would change anything, but at the same time, I can tell when I perform certain song, and I can see where, when I say certain thing, like there's a little disconnect with the crowd, especially on stage. So it's about knowing the market and knowing who you're dealing with and knowing what you're willing to embrace as an artist, you know, and how you want to see your journey, because there is still a power within that, you know, but there can also be a resistance with the things that we say. So, you know, it's really about just taking a little bit of what was said. And I know Janine as an artist who says powerful things in her music. So I wouldn't really throw her under the bus for saying something like that. But at the same time, I find it a little surprising, you know. But definitely more, you know, more strength to the eye, man. And it's some powerful lyrics. I love the sounds of the eye utter, and just keep up the great works, man. There's always listening ears for conscious music and fiery music. People always are big me up as a one way I keep certain amount of fire in the music, and I not even about the same kind of fire, the same level of fire like once before. I still kind of have to deal with it on a little more diplomatic level because the age we're in. So it's not that you're watering it down, but it's about being strategic and tactical, you know, with how you deal with things. Like we could have said, yo, bomb government and kill government. But we say, well done, Mr. Politician, man. You know what I mean? So it's just learning. One could have said, boy, Kabaka, water down the thing, you know, because hot fire we burn. So you don't want to become ignorant to certain things, but just take something from it. You know what I mean? Take something from it, because there's always a lesson in, there's always some truth when once I give advice, you know?
All right, so a good reasoning in terms of the diplomacy in the music. Tarsetti, your hand has been raised, so I'm going to go through with the raised hands. It will be Tarsetti, Jabi of Dark. I have someone here as iPad, you will be next, and then Hawaii P Smart will be next. So we have 4 people with their hands raised. Tarsetti, you are unmuted. Trying to unmute you. Can you unmute yourself, Tarsetti? For some reason, mine is not unmuting.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Greetings, everyone. Tarsetti from the group Link and Chain. And I'll tell you the younger artists them a reason that about watering down of the music and stuff like that. We have been through that. We've been through that, you know, so it's nothing new. When we started out recording in the studio, we have record label call us. We in the studio doing recording for a label, and that particular label call us and said, right now, the item sing too much black music, you know. The item sing too much things about black people and all that stuff. The item need to sing some feel good music, you know. So, but I don't know how to sing feel good music because we not the struggle, you know. See,
we don't feel good.
Yeah, I would feel sane and we feel pain and them something there. So there's no feel good about the music them where we are put out. You know, so with that, they didn't want to record us anymore because of the kind of music where I sing. You know, the first time I went into the studio and sing a track called African Struggle, I think the song name. We had a couple of folks crying. Some white folks were there and they started crying when they hear us singing the African Struggle, you know. And so, but that didn't put any damper on I. And I just keep going same way. So that being said, what the bridge, I think is Abashe, was reasoning about Africa and where he saw that reggae is going to be the next big thing in Africa. We went to the Jamaican Music Conference, I think this year, yes, February. And after the conference, that was our reasoning, you know, that right now, the next move, we're going to go to Africa. We need to go to Africa and set up shop, seeing, because we think our music will do better in Africa than in the West right now, due to the kind of music we I sing. I people, we accept the music more, you know, see, because we've been trying for a long time to get inside this market and stuff like that. But as I said before, our music too black, and so it's rarely appreciated, you know what I mean? So that's what I really want to say still, you know, give thanks.
Give thanks to Tarsetti of Link and Chain for that reasoning as well. Off to Africa, back to Africa, forward to Africa. We all must go. iPad, you are now, I'm trying to unmute you also so that you may join the dialogue.
Yes, give thanks, give thanks. Blessed the ones and ones. Well, I just wanted to quote something that Garvey stated as well. He said, as other people were willing to sacrifice their time and even their lives to Christianize our race,
we should always exercise patience that is necessary to civilize people. So if we realize that we have problems within the society that is based upon the knowledge of our people, we have to first try and civilize everyone. Kabaka Pyramid made a statement where he said, like, when he perform at certain places, you might realize that the crowd of people were moved towards the music. You realize it's a different crowd from the African community. And you realize that because most of the African community don't really have the education or the knowledge or the know-how about what Kabaka might have said on a show, or, you know, when you talk about burn down Babylon, or who we refer to as Babylon and what we are aim at. So we have to really educate the people to the language, and we have to also educate the people as to the way how light enter into our mind. Because we have to also realize that even these mediums that they are using, frequency and mediums like these that we are talking through, we have to understand, say, the way the colors enter our eye also, it a program the youths them based on where they're at and their life struggles, you know. Because as we say, poverty and certain things, realize, say, those things create a problem to the youths. And then from them vibrate on such frequency, those things now them tap into the musical vibration on that frequency as well. You know, because we read up on 432 and the hertz of music and stuff like that. We start realize, say, music enter the human body in a certain way, just as colors, you know. Because colors is a powerful thing. Because if you look on it, the sun emit colors. I said this statement before. The sun emit colors, and that is light. So light is information. So if we have to be careful what we put into our dome, you know, and we have to educate with people as towards these things so that them can know the sensitivity of what they put inside. Give thanks.
We give thanks. Yes, the messages in the music, the visuals, all impacting Hawaii. I'm sorry if I'm mistaking this. P Smart, you're up, and then Sister Kalila Rose. And then I'm going to take a break from the conversation so that we can have what was supposed to be our final musical presentation, but we're going to continue the reasoning for all who want to stay after we hear from Athazar. All right, so Hawaii, forgive the eye for the misinterpretation or
I
mispronunciation.
think it's just the phone. I think it's just the phone when I use a Huawei
Okay.
phone. Yeah,
That person using that phone, please join the dialogue.
Unmute.
Unmute.
All right. Yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Live. Rastafari. It's Huawei, eh? The Hong Kong thing, man. All right, now watch that. It's RasTa. Cause me up upon this Zoom. It's about the 4th time me I use this Zoom, you know. So I don't know watch nothing. When me done, me I go put my name up your proper seed. Cause so then call me for years. So now watch the Huawei thing. Me sit down here, listen everything, you know. In the spirit of Garvey, love to each and every one. One love, as Marcus Messiah Garvey would have tell we. One love to all. We know say love of the healer. Do we an extreme I hear the eye them? Yeah, man, we not for water down nothing. We must be ourselves as how the creators created us. We are all expressions of the whole Almighty. And when we say the Almighty, I deal with God and Goddess. So we can't just talk about God alone, you know.
Totality of things.
God and the Goddess in the whole principle and balance and scheme of the universe and the nature. That's how we see it. That's how I know it. You others, I hear talk about Africa. Yeah, man, Africa is alive. It's ready for the music. It's always been ready. When I first got on Ghana 1981, man, the man, they must sing Black Uhuru tune. You with me? They must sing some record like the record they make down there. Believe you me, I was down there a week and within 2 days, the man, they must sing about the record like them been playing it for a year. So we know Africans are very receptive to listening. And as my brethren just said, a lot of things we are dealing with now is all about the frequency of the earth as well. All right, because we are natural beings, we are electromagnetic, we have all these connections, everything, psychic, telepathic, it's all within us. We as a people, we have to know self. That is one of our ancient teachings, go all the way back to Tarseta, Nubia, any which part you go in our ancient history. we have always been told from Zulu tradition down south to Ashanti Kingdom, up in the west, the north, anywhere we go, we have always been told we as a people must know self. And in part of our knowing ourselves, we express it in our art form. And music is our art form. And it's not everybody going to connect on the frequency and the resonance. And those who don't connect, you can reason with them and talk to them to help them come to that. Because as far as I'm concerned, I and I still we're still traumatized after the Mahafa and the slavery where we got through. A lot of we people traumatized. And because of that traumatic journey, what we got through slavery, not all of us strong enough to heal. I give thanks I find far right. Nearly 43 years now with dash with scissors and comb. And that put I on the part of Africanness. And for I man as a Rasta man, it's not just saying Rasta, Rasta, Rasta. Because what I find with the problem with Rasta too is we just depend on Rasta, Rasta thing when Rasta supposed to deal with back to your roots. And back to your roots means say you have to go back to Africa at some stage, some point. And we have to slowly find it. Now, just to give you my example, down in England here, them call me high priest. And nearly 30 years I've been around dead body. When I say around dead body, I do a lot of rites of passage ceremony. That means I've been burying my brethren and sisters for nearly 40 years, 30 odd years. You with me? And when I first do the work, I used to get a lot of fight from the Rasta man them. Say, no, we must not do this. Yet Marcus Garvey tell us that we must do everything in our own aspect. We must see God as black. We must see everything black. And when you talk about the Harlem Renaissance earlier on, I do recall Marcus Garvey had him nurses auxiliary out there marching. To me, it was very impressive. When you look at the photograph, we're looking at all aspects of our life. And I, as a Ras, I deal with the cradle to the grave, meaning to say, when the flesh have to rest, because we don't know, this flesh is only for a time in our earth space, and it's going to move on. And I understand that. And now many of my brethren, them start to see where me I say down here, because I'm from the UK, UK me there, just to make the item aware. The land in Birmingham, England, me there. You with me? Born down in 1961, me no shame for say so, because we as Ras, we say wherever we born. You don't know. We can't change. I'm one and the same, an African, Ethiopian. So in the spirit of Garvey, I just want us to know, say, enlighten the people with the music. I hear the sister and the host said earlier, man, respect to you, Miss Baptiste, Empress Baptiste. We don't want no slackness in the music. We know that. We see what it has done to our people. We got a lot of young men down in England going to jail for rape, And I know enough of them young people, they are the kind of music them I listen to. I've been watching the play. I see it. And I can talk from my experience here in the UK. And I know it's a similar thing all around the world. Jamaica too. Because look how much years now, the last few years, how much of this child prostitution are going in Jamaica. These are the things we have to confront, because when Garvey said free yourself, up your mighty race, we have to deal with all aspects of our life, not just the reggae music alone. That good. Because we need music, because that heal us. Because music is a frequency, and when you cover all the notes in the musical scale, we vibrate with that as human beings. If you know self, you vibrate. I've been playing sound system for years, and I see what music do to people. I play guitar from me a 7-year-old, and I see what music do to people. And it's like Kabaka said, sometimes you can sing a thing and you dip on a microphone, and you say certain thing, and you see the crowd kind of. But if you're conscious and you see that, you know for switch it and bring it round to them. So it don't sound like, oh, the man offended me, because I like this. Because sometimes when me in a dance, I say, hey, we burn the Jesus thing. I make them know, so me burn the white Jesus concept. But if I go talk about black Yeshua, then that's a different thing. I can't reason with you there, so then. Because we don't know religion, everything come out of Africa. Every single thing on the creation come out of Africa. So that means we must be proud of who we are, right? Garvey said it, The Chinaman is doing his thing, him don't have no problem. The Asian doing what him doing, him don't have no problem. The European doing the same, but what about us? And as I hear somebody said earlier, maybe we have to look in at politics, because a long time I tell my brethren down in Birmingham, say, yo, if we're not going to stay in England, better you go start from political party, because that was what Garvey was about, and him get a fight. Many people forget about the PPP, People's Political Party. That was for the people of Jamaica. And as you know, FBI Hoover, him sent the first black recruit for him, FBI, to go spy upon Garvey, and the rest is history. You with me, sell him the rotten ship, them and everything. So we must be mindful that even within our own struggle, we're going to have many of our people who are not progressive, and them don't like what we're doing, So that means to say there will always be spies and traitors in the camp. And if we see them, we must expose them, man. Expose them, bring it out and expose them that, no, these people don't mean us well. So you know what? We're not kill you, but go over there, sir. Stay away from us. Make we continue. And that's how I see it. And I don't want to take up much time because I know you say you have a break, you know. Come you chat for the world. So that's I know. I have enough to talk. We chat for the world. But respect to all. I want to give one's time. Kabaka Pyramid, we see you in a concert, my lion. Right? Just continue burn your fire. Seeing? No, ease up no fire. No, because we as Rasta say what? We now cease the fire till Babylon system broke down. See? We cannot. We have to continue because we've been getting a fight. And this is what we must also realize from day one, even Garvey, many of our great leaders, we have the system, so to speak, who see what we're doing and them infiltrate us and always undermining everything we do. So what we need to do now is put up with shield and with God, psychologically, spiritually, and mentally in all aspects. We need to put up with God so that we can afford it and pass down this knowledge to the children them. So give thanks, Rastafari, to all. Enough love. I've got to carry on, but enough love.
Give thanks for that reasoning, that fire burning. All right. So I see hands on the screen. I see hands on in the chat. I just see hands. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna four more people, but I'm gonna ask you to just limit it to like 2 minutes.
All right, yeah, man.
That might be too much, me don't know. But 2 minutes to the thing. So I have Jabi said he has had his hand up for a while. Sister Kalila Rose has had her hand up for a while. I see Kwasi raised his hand. And did iPhone get a chance to go? Yes, iPhone had a chance to go, I believe. All right, so Jabi, Kalila Rose, Kwasi Bonsu, and then we're going to break so that we can have our musical presentation from Athrazar.
Give thanks.
Unmute, I. Yes, I.
You're unmuted.
Me have to unmute. Sorry, sorry. My apologies. Me have to unmute. Una learn me this thing, you know. All right, no problem. I'm gonna do this now. Me find me speaker thing. Wait, them man.
You were right. Yes. All right.
Who is up?
Jabi.
All right, yes. Where we send to the brethren, where them a tell if you cool it. Him need to turn it up. Him no need to cool it. Him for burn more fire because you up now. Remember, you know, you hear the man say, I feel like bombing a church.
Yes.
When I know the preacher is lying.
The preacher is lying.
The man come forward and say, make we chase them crazy bump head out of town. And he never turn it down. And so it's them kind of fire thing there. Because when you talk to the freedom fighter them inside South Africa, Zimbabwe, and them place, you know what I'm saying? At them music that them did I listen to give them the fire and the spirit to keep on fighting and burn down Babylon. So don't stop. Never cease the fire, brethren. Guys, the next thing, part 2, is that when you look at the punk rapping, I see him in England and Birmingham there.
Yeah,
Bob Marley sing punky reggae party because it was the punk that was supporting the reggae music. It never just happened so. So punky reggae party was an example of the punks, the skinhead them, those guys who recognized that reggae was the order of the day. Because they too were derelicts in their society. And because Rasta was derelicts, so they thought, the brethren established that. And the third point is Africa. Africa is our home. The first Rasta man a chance, you know, repatriation. So that the argument they can't stop. The consistency in repatriation. So yes, beloved brethren, and I need to take the music home because you know Africa is liberated. Remember Zimbabwe liberation from Rhodesia? The greatest thing that they know was Robert Nesta Marley with Bob Marley and the Wheelers with all the stadium fence tear down and them come giving thanks to Rastafari and the contribution that Rastafari made in the tearing down of the Rhodes scholars, Rhodesia, and uplift Zimbabwe once again. Give thanks and I hope I don't have to say nothing else today. Selassie forever.
We welcome the energies, Jabi. All right, Sister Kalila and then Kwasi. And I give thanks that you kept it to 2 minutes, Jabi.
Greetings, blessed. You can hear me?
Yes.
I just thought it would be a shame for me not to take the opportunity to thank the presenters. Thank you, Andrea, for presenting this platform. This is the works that we need to do, being on the front line and engaging in just not just the talk, but the footwork. So I thank you. And I just, I've known Alicia and Wiedemeyer for a long time now, maybe like 20 years. And I just wanted to, when I first met them, we were all very young and they were so powerful and the fire was blazing and the fire continues to blaze. So I just wanted to express my gratitude and just thank them for this platform. Also, I wanted to big up Sister Fairy on Just Jam Magazine. I know that Kabaka and I have graced the cover, and there are individuals like her, just like individuals like Art of the Covenant, Daniel Hartman's son, who are continuing to put forth the work through art, or through press and media, and something that Garvey had printing press, and Just Jam Magazine is still doing the work. So I just wanted to thank them also for being on the call today, and just, it's such beautiful work, and I just hope you keep the fire blazing and keep it moving. And thank you, Kabaka, also to be as with the humility and to be here today. And there was a question of in terms of if there's Garvey in any artist. I can see Garvey in the eye, and I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone today. Thank you. And big up Jabby.
Love, 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 love. That's what it's all about too, to make the works go. And we're burning the fire, but we have to spread the love too. Kwasi.
Yes, this call is like a family reunion. I'm looking at all the names and it's a joy to see everyone. I didn't want, before everyone left, I wanted to make sure I had the opportunity to speak about some of the actual work that is happening, solutions, so we don't just feel despondent. My brethren, Bingishan, who spoke earlier from Ghana, he is the executive director of Habesha. We are getting ready to launch the Quaker Andu Sustainability Institute next year. At the JMC in February, we designated Kabaka Pyramid as our brand ambassador. So we're working to launch. We have a 4-acre site that will be a training institute in the Volta region in Ghana. We'll be doing various training and development there. The site is being built with mud brick, natural materials, along with solar panels, biofuel digester system. So it's a totally off the grid set up water catchment system. So we are merging the ancient and the modern, thereby implementing the teachings of Marcus Garvey and His Imperial Majesty in a practical project. Again, that's a 4-acre site. We already have a 1/2-acre site, which is the Habesha HQ, which Bingishan is calling from right now, which is fully solar equipped, biofuel digester system, organic garden surrounding. So I want the people to know that we are actually implementing plans and projects, and we are preparing a curriculum for repatriation, which we are calling a pre-patriation curriculum that will be both online and a practical. I went over my 2 minutes, but I want to just quickly say something about also another initiative that is underway, which is the Association of Rastafari Creatives, which some of the members on this call are a part of. We've been quietly putting together an association for Rastafari creatives to act as a fundraising mechanism and also a PR arm, so that the Rastafari who are working within the creative industries can speak in one voice. We've also defined farming as part of the creative industry. So we definitely are going to be looking at food security, water security, and partnering. And part of the reason that came up because I've had over 20 years working with Rastafari nonprofit entities. And one of the things that we struggle with is fundraising for our causes. We may spend 3 or 4 months to raise $500 by the time you take away all of the expenses and you balance out everything. So we want an entity that can come in and assist existing organs with, sourcing Rastafari artists, with, helping to plan, execute on a professional level, fundraising that can generate real capital to really push forward the Rastafari agenda. I want to big up Jabi and Dark for the initiative that they are launching in terms of trying to unify the houses and the mansions. I want to also big up the anniversary development of Rastafari, which is also working on a repatriation project. We are working in conjunction with Ghana. We are looking at different cities. We've been taking proposals for 30 acres of land to establish a community there. Also want to big up the Haile Selassie Foundation for Law and Society, which is an association of Rastafari attorneys, which I'm a founding member as well. We're working on various issues within the Rastafari community. So I want to leave everybody with this. Make sure you join an organization, do some research. Don't just go out there and say Rastafari because Majesty was an institution builder. Don't go out there and say Marcus Garvey and you don't a part of anything, because Marcus Garvey was an institution builder. We have to get away from personality-driven efforts, and the answer and the solution are institutions which survive even when personalities pass away. So I want to implore every 41 people, or how much people, I can't see them do have in the class.
Right now.
43 people on the line. Make sure you are a part of an organization. Make sure you hold the organization leadership accountable. Make sure if it's dues, you pay your dues. Show up. This is the Armageddon. This is not a dress rehearsal. It will get worse before it gets better with this corona and all of these things. The mark of the beast is on the way. We must be prepared for what is coming down the pike. With that, I'm unsealed.
We give thanks for that, Kwasi. And okay, so I know I said we were going to go and take a break, but you know what? Since Kwasi kind of led us into this, one of the quotes that we wanted to kind of seal up the dialogue with was, the race needs more workers at this time, not plagiarists, right? The culture vultures, the cultural appropriators that we've talked about, sophists, and I interjected that, sophists and mere imitators, but men and women who are able to create, to originate and improve, and thus make an independent racial contribution to the world and civilization. So I believe Kwasi's discussion just kind of summed that up or spoke to that. But also I would like to give ones on here, because I know, Kalila, you are out in the streets of New York, serving as well as leading. Wida and Alicia, we know there is the African Culture School, that it has been such an honor for me to observe the works that you're doing, to be part of your mission, and to just see the impact that you've made on children. We have Habesha that was already mentioned in terms of the work. So I just wanted to give folks that may be here, if you want to either raise your hand or jump in and just talk a little bit, 1 minute if you can, about some of the works that you're doing in your community. And if you do have an organization where people can join, tell us how, let us know the mission and the purpose of that organization, and how folks can find out, more information as we move forward. Because yes, community building is essential. We cannot do it alone, and we do have to get beyond the egos and the silos that we tend to operate in. So I see Harushu has raised their hand, but I'm going to ask Sister Kalila to go ahead and just tell us a little bit about the work that she's doing. And then I'm going to ask whether it's Dr. Blackwood, Sister Alicia, or Wida to speak to African Culture School, and then Harushu. So Kalila, AKS, and also we have the Marcus Garvey Revolutionary Guards as well.
Yes, Andrea. Well, currently the work that I'm doing now, I just organized last strong. I organized a protest outside of the General Consulate of Jamaica, the Consulate General of Jamaica office, in regards to the legislation in Jamaica, where with the banning of students who are dreadlocked or locked So, you know, that was something I feel that Jamaicans who are not in Jamaica, who are around the world, needs to put on the pressure when we see injustices happening in Jamaica, because that's still our home. We have family there, and it is the beginning of Rastafari. So even though they said it was not a Rasta issue, it is still for I and I to be on the forefront, because that's another form of Willie Lynch for me as a Rasta to sit back and like, oh, it's not Rasta, it's just ones who wear locks. So we made it proud, I and I, ones and ones Africans who are locked, to feel proud to wear their natural hair. So that went well. Currently, I'm also a part of an organization called, I wore a shirt today, Black Resource Network. It's based out of Queens, and we're just mobilizing Black people. We have over 9,000 members. Every Thursday, we feed, we get fresh produce, non-genetically modified produce, and we've fed thousands of people. We do a lot of fundraisers, a lot of events, and I'm also organizing a book collection for Bull Bay Primary School in Jamaica, because that's where some of my family is. My father's home is in Bull Bay, so you know, they're in need. So right now, I will have a flyer up, and I'm just taking Cash App, and I will purchase all the supplies and send it out to Jamaica. So that's just a few of the things that I'm currently engaging in.
We give thanks and enough respect and a serious salute to all of your energies and the works that you're doing and the major impact that you're having at home and abroad. Yes. Salute. Okay. And I see Raven's Mani's hand is up as well. Harusha, we're unmuting. Yes, there you are.
Yes, Harushu, thank you.
Harushu, forgive me. Give thanks for the correction.
That's okay. It's an ancient Kemetic name that I founded myself. I think before I speak about what I do personally, I'm not sure if Kalila is still active, but I know that I had the honor of performing in the Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem for the UNIA. And so I think that, you know, in honor of Marcus Garvey's day, myself, when I was 17, I was crowned the UK Dancehall King in the Marcus Garvey Centre of Nottingham, England in 2002. So, you know, it's the biggest building we have on earth in the name of Marcus Garvey. And I'm proud to be born in that city and carry that title. And I stepped forward from that into Rastafari. So I think we should also pay attention to the EWF, especially as Rastafari. We don't have a register for us as a family, as a community, and the King put that in place, and we don't take advantage of that. So, you know, as a community, I think we really need to, I mean, I was in a discussion recently because of the statues that were taken down by certain ones of the Ethiopian community who have a disregard for His Imperial Majesty. They went around England and Wimbledon and a couple of other places in the world and not only defamed the statues of His Imperial Majesty, they pulled them down. So a few of us wrote letters to the Prime Minister and to a few of the leaders of the political parties and so forward to have this rectified, and had some people arrested before they visited Bath to go and destroy Rastafari's house that he visited whilst he was here during World War II. So, you know, I have to big up to even the Osset Society and the ones that are out there putting in the work, also the Nyabinga community, because there are the ones that are out there that do need the support that we need to push to be a part of and to assist, as well as our own individual efforts, because some of our elders did put foundation work in and did put that work in, that we should continue that work. And I think that also adds to not following through what Marcus Garvey set forward. So just to keep it short for myself, I have a not-for-profit organization, Organic Good Lifestyle, which, you know, I fashioned very much after the UNIA and the magazine protocol. And I've recently started something that I think is financially orientated. We're creating a community pot to take advantage of markets. We really need to give our elders a better a better retirement plan than that's been given to them for all of the hard work they've done. So I'm putting a lot of hard work into raise a community pot for our greater community to make better financial advantages for ourselves. So look forward for that in the future. So in the meantime, I think my number one message is, if you're not already a part of a community, please definitely join communities that our elders put forward for us already, because they need our support. And if we don't turn up in numbers, then we're not showing, you know, we're just talking. But big up and enough love to everyone. Rastafari.
We give thanks. Okay, so I'm gonna put a pause in it because you know what? It's 8:45, and this reasoning can go on and on. So we're still gonna continue because it's important for us to share the on-ground works, the real-life efforts that is happening. So if Athrazar, if you are still here, my brother, and I forgive us, so when we get together, we just keep the reasoning going because it needs to be said and the works need to be done. If you're still here, brother, can you are you able to give us a strength and share your works with us? I don't see him in the feed. And I accept full responsibility for that because I kept saying, yes, we're going to pause and let him speak. And then the reasoning got sweet and I never did do it. So I'm a poet and I don't know it, but all of you artists on here, don't bother make fun of me. All right. Well, Athrazar, I forgive us. We look forward to you joining us the next time. And with that, I'm going to ask Raven. I truly do apologize. And I'm going to ask Raven Amani. And then I think it was RasTa or the priest out of the UK to go ahead and speak. And then also if we can hear from African Culture School, as well as Marcus Garvey, Revolutionary Gods. And that is probably going to seal up our dialogue for the evening. All right, Raven, I am unmuting, I think. There you go.
All right. Yes, you hearing me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, greetings again, everyone. It's been really a really empowering session and really enjoy the reasoning so far. Just wanted to touch on the works that we are doing here with Jamaica's Best School Band. And of course, it was launched in 2014. This year, 2020, would have been our 7th season. And in November of 2019, we were able to assemble a team of industry professionals and do a school tour where we visited all the participants. This year we have up to 15 school bands from across Jamaica who have signed up to enter the competition. And we were able to go to all the schools individually with the team. We're talking about representatives from DIPO, JCAP, JARIA, and Broadcasting Commission, where we were able to, do presentations on things like copyright, protecting your intellectual property rights, essentially. And also, give a little behind the scenes of the music industry. We had people like Stingray, musician Stingray, who's been a touring musician for a long time. He's a part of the Lloyd Parks and We the People band. And he was able to talk to them about touring and what, all that goes into being a touring musician and all of that. So it's been going over well. We were supposed to be having the competition, but as you know, the pandemic and all the protocols are in place. So we have reached out to Tough Gang International and they are now on board. So if all is well, in October, we should be having the competition there at Tough Gang International. And that's just another good thing we see where we can connect the youth with some of that history pertaining to, that whole place and everything that they're about. And so Yes, that's some of the things that we are doing. I am with Jamaica's Best School Band.
And we give thanks for that, for the work that you're doing with the high school students. And we know it came really out of just your passion and desire, and you're making it work, girl, and impactful for the students of Jamaica. Give thanks. Okay, so RasTa.
One quick, I just want to say that I forgot Yad off. So I just want to give thanks for the opportunity and big up to everyone who has been a part of the stream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Weeda Maya, big up yourself, you know, and sister, you know, enough love and, you know, just continue the great works. And yeah, just logging off. I would probably still click on the YouTube and go and check in a little bit, but I have some things to sort out. So enough love and honor to the ones I'm seeing.
Yes. We give thanks
Yeah,
for
man,
your
give
strength.
thanks, Kamaka.
Yes.
All right, enough honor. Blessings.
No fun,
All right, so RasTa, you wanted to share some of the work that you're doing as well. Please, you're unmuted. We welcome your contribution. Did we lose him? Now you're muted.
Yeah.
Unmute. Yes,
All
there
right.
you go.
All right. Yes. I just want to state, even though I said I was a priest, yeah, man, that's how it started from the Ethiopian World Federation, Birmingham local, which was established here in the UK, 1981. And as I heard one of the comments said earlier, it's nice if we can all find some kind of body or organization or institution, which is black-led, that we can all sort of join and participate and full take, you know. You with me? Because it's a key. Yes, I know at this moment now, even Birmingham local, we've not functioning again, but in terms of world and the Ethiopian World Federation, we are functioning and we've just really and truly upscaled the whole thing now. We've had a lot of problem over the years because many of them did make a lot of money in the name of the Federation, and them take that money and put in them back pocket, and we never respect that. And it kind of disillusioned a lot of the members around the world. This is what I said earlier, where we find the sharks them and the people who undermine the positive work. We must draw them out, and we have to take them to court, you know, Babylon system court. But give thanks we did. Because if it wasn't that, then things could have get nasty, and we don't want to go down that road there. So basically, we're in a position now, and it's the Ethiopian World Federation who, for nearly 13, 14 years, the man, they was electing I as the chaplain. For those who don't know, chaplain, because you don't know, Ethiopian World Federation is His Majesty organization after during the war thing when Mussolini invaded, and it's for all black people, for all. That means you don't even have to be Rasta. And anybody who know the history of the Federation, we know say you had Baptist, Christians, lawyers, minister, all kind of people rally around it, and it was that same spirit of the UNIA. And while we down here so now doing this work, as I said, nearly 30, yeah, about 30 odd years now, doing this work, and it take me all over the country. And what I find now, I give thanks for this Zoom thing, you know, because there's a lot of people who respect as an elder down here, and they must say to me, RasTa, we want to do something, we want to join, we want. And to hear this kind of thing I go on now, come my brethren send it to me, you know, one of the Federation brethren send the link. I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to just log in, you know, come in now, do nothing on the Garvey there. We don't celebrate in spirit. So it's good if we can do that, because this is what has kept I going. The spirit of the Federation, we the black people of the world, in order to effect solidarity, liberty, integrity, you with me, and bring about the brotherhood and sisterhood of man. This has kept me going as a Rasta man. It has kept me going. And I would like to advocate that all ones outside of them own little personal sphere, find something where you can join to or work with similar like-minded people, because the collective security is what's going to keep us together. And His Majesty did say that. Collective security for surety. He said, organize, centralize, or perish. And Marcus Garvey said the same thing. Centralize and organize. So it's the same message. One was UNIA, this was Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. And it's the same message for all black people. And you know, we've done a lot of things in Africa. I've seen a lot of African countries, about 17, 18. I'm a very humble person. I don't chat much. So things like this will just make me open up. And I see a lot of African countries. I mean, I tell you, them are wait for we. Them waiting for us. Them just want the positive people. And I need to go further south. The furthest south me go is Kenya, but most of West Africa me tour from 1981. We don't stop going to Africa. And I love Ghana. I mean, not tell no lie. It have a vibration which me feel. But at the same time, I see prospect in Egypt, Eritrea, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania. Enough little places where we go visit. Some of them was some short visit, but all the same, we take it in, and everywhere we go, Rasta, Rasta, Rasta. So there's something about Rasta which the world see. The world see that. And I know it's not just the smoking thing. It's about how we move, how we talk, how we express ourselves, because we have enough Rasta bridging we not even smoke. So it's not a smoking thing. It's about we understanding we self as a people, because we have a culture and a heritage. And I hear somebody said earlier, you know, where you see white man start cry when you start to say certain things to them. Well, nothing wrong with that, you know, because the prophecy, the Bible tell us, say, the sins of the fathers shall visit the third and the fourth generation. So some of them have it in them conscience and them spirit within themselves. Even if them don't have it in them conscience, within them internal spirit, them know something all right. And when we see that little Black Lives Matter the other day and see a whole heap of European and people that jump up to rally to our cause, I say to my brethren, them, yeah man, it's them for do it. Make them do it, because we are pioneers. I lead the thing from a long time. And as I said, we can't see our cycle. We've had a hard time, and we will continue to get hard time as we grow. And with this whole of this pandemic, what has hit the earth, as far as I'm concerned, it is a wicked attack upon humanity. It's real, right? It's real. There's a wicked attack upon humanity. You with me? And we mustn't be scared. Biological warfare been going on a long, long time. I'm going to keep it short, and that's it, because you said sweet and sharp. But the biological warfare not new. It's not new. People have said COVID, 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 but when you look back in South Africa history, them other man what used to poison the water, and when black people drink from the water, them get sick and dead off, and the European and the colored, when them drink from it, them are all right. So this is from the 70s. This is what they done. And it's not just in South Africa.
Yes, and there is so many examples. I mean, we've got Tuskegee right here in our backyard, in our lifetimes, in our parents' lifetimes, in terms of biological warfare as well. But I'm going to ask for us to just wrap it up. If there are any final comments, we have to seal it up. Yeah, man, and we give thanks for the information on the EWF out of London. Folks, please put in the chat your contact information if you have an organization, okay, so that we can keep the links going, because we know people are talking and people are talking fast and so on, but definitely share your contact information so that if ones want to further connect with you, that they can. So please put it in the
Will do.
The contacts, yes, and your organization and your organization's information. The other thing I want to say is that I want to give a special shout out to our friends over at Keith Magazine, and I just realized that Sister Kalila said that Just Ja is here. Blessings, salute, doing some good works as well. The show, the reasoning will be available. The playback will be available on the Keith Magazine's site within the next 24 to 48 hours. So stay connected to that space, Keith Magazine, so that you can, if you're interested, you can also play it back there, as well as with Black Iowa TV. I'm gonna just draw for some closing words from Wida Maya to just seal up the conversation, the dialogue of this evening that has been so empowering. And I think the most important thing that we can do is to be sure that we are sharing our contact information in this chat, because word without works is dead.
It's nothing. Right? Yeah, man. Respect to the host, them, man. No flow.
We give thanks. So we don't want to just come here and labba and beat up a mouth, but we want to also connect folks, right? True. We want to keep the message. We can all agree, I think, that we want to have good messages in our music. We want to see the teachings of His Majesty in the music. We want to see the teachings of Marcus in the music. We want to see Black liberation, Black empowerment messages. And so to do that, we each need to lend each other strength. And I tell folks all the time, and I think Kwasi has said this, I am Norway, right? I may not get along with you, but I can work with you if we have a common goal and a common vision. I may not get involved in the interpersonal conflicts. At least I try not to. So, and I'm hoping that as we forward and we progress, that we can lay some of our little slights that maybe ones have done to us or we have done to ones to the side, so that we can look at a greater purpose, one God, one aim,
One destiny.
Destiny. Up ye mighty race. And I'm gonna sound a little cliche because those are the two of the most common quotes of Garvey, but I think they still serve their purpose and have serious meaning in this day, in this age. Wida, please seal us up for the evening. And I give thanks to each and every one of you. Oh, Herbs Jamaica, for those of you that are watching from downtown Kingston, Eastwood Park Road, shop number 7, where you can, a dispensary.
Halfway tree.
Please, halfway tree, yes. Please, 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 please. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you for being part of the conversation and the dialogue and for hosting the watch party right there. Gabon, greetings, 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 greetings. Gabon, just because I know you just came in, oh, I'm doing it again, I'm going to get myself in more trouble. But I have somebody here that just asked, I'm live from Gabon, Africa. Can I say some words? I'm going to ask you to limit those words to about 2 minutes because we're well over an hour over in the dialogue. And where are you? Let's see, can I
unmute them?
Unmute. And we're unmuting. I don't know why you're not unmuting. I'm trying to unmute. There we go. No.
Big up Gabon.
What's the name of the person?
Chingston. Lekemet.
Yeah.
There you go. You're open. Yes, Greetings. Greetings from Gabon.
Yeah, greetings. Yeah, my name is Chinga Mikolo, like Lekemet. That's they call me. So I'm so happy to be on live right now. Yes. First of all, sorry for the time. You know, it's very late here, but I'm just trying. I'm part of a movement here in Gabon that is called ACA. ACA is African Caribbean Artists. The purpose is making a link between the artists from Africa and the Caribbean part. But we just start 5 years ago. We've been working with the French part of Caribbean. So, but right now, next year will be the second year that we just organize Bob Marley Days. Why Bob Marley Days? Because Gabon is the first country where Bob Marley came in Africa 40 years ago. So we as you all guys just said, we don't use just Bob Marley names to make an event, but we use the philosophy, the legacy of all what he was saying through his music. So if we just realize that what you say is what Marcus Garvey is what this His Majesty says, what all of our great men all over the world was saying. And using that event, the purpose is to make a link because of the language, as we are in French part, it's not easy for the English part to be linking with the French part because of the language. But we are trying. Last year we had a great woman, which is a Caribbean woman living in Benin, coming from Guadeloupe, Merja. She's doing a big work in Benin. And we just invite her here in Gabon because Gabon is the population is not so big, but the movement, when I'm saying movement, is about Rastafari movement or Kemetic movement or all the Renaissance movement is not big yet, but we are trying to build something. And what I'm just happy is that Garvey saved my life because of his words. And then we as an organization, how can we link with you guys? How can we be working together to make this project possible? Because in 2000 we have a plan for 2 years to create a big event, as Ghana just tried the year of return. We are trying to make a big event like that in Gabon, because it's very important as a French country, as a country that have a history, and that's all. That's the only thing that I want to say. And so I'm so happy, and I'm very happy to hear you all guys. I'm follow most of the people on internet. So right now, Africa, everything is possible because internet, and we have to use it in the right way to do what we are just doing right now. And don't think that as we are young in Africa, we are not like, we don't think about how we can do things to go further, to go far. We are almost ready, but we need to link and working together to make all those things possible. So I'm say thank you, as we say in Gabon, Malumbi Mbolo, for everybody.
We give thanks for that message from Gabon, and thank you for, I'm sure it's a different time of day and everything, and we're just so happy to hear, and for the outreach and the outpouring of love. And so Chinga, I think I got it. Did I get it right? Chinga, please put your contact information in the chat and scroll through the chats, because for the last maybe 5 minutes or so, people have been putting their email addresses, phone numbers, as well as websites so that folks can stay connected. I'm going to see if there's a way for us to maybe download these contacts and put them into some kind of a listing that can be shared also easily. But please, for those of you who, if you haven't,
there is,
put your stuff in there. Okay, so Wida will help us to be able to compile that information. As you are there with your mic open, Wida, I'm asking you to please go ahead and seal up the dialogue for this night, for this evening, and I just want to say once again, thank you to our panelists, as well as to our guests. At one time, we had about 53 people on in the Zoom chat. I'm not sure how many we have on YouTube and so on, but we give thanks for the outpouring of support. We know we went enough overtime, but I hope that you found it to be worth it. Blessings upon blessings upon blessings.
Yeah, man, give thanks. Just want to mention the African Culture School before I go. You know, African Culture School is an organization that we started in 2006. 2006 when we came to Orlando, you know. And after 10 years of educating children in Orlando about their African culture, we launched an initiative called the Sankofa Youth Initiative, where we partnered with Habesha and we started taking people to Africa, you know, so that youth them could see Africa that they've been learning about all these years, you know. And since 2016 to 2019, we took 20 people to Africa. In 2019, we took 10 people to both Ethiopia and Ghana in the same trip, you know. So once again, give thanks to Habesha organization just for facilitating that on the ground. And we started African Culture School with 0 resources but people. But we are our greatest resources, you know? And that's something we need to remember as a people. Like, with unity, we can accomplish a lot. Like, a few people united can accomplish a whole lot, you know? So, as Kwasi said, organize. As Garvey said, organize. You see me? Yeah, man, the greatest enemy. What? The greatest enemy against the Negro is disorganization, you know? So, that's from Garvey. So let us please, if you are not a part of an organization, find one and join one. If you don't find one that suits your liking, then you organize one, you know? And yeah, me sit dirty with me, one of my favorite Garvey book, that on philosophies and opinions. So me I go make Dirty have a word and make them know the name of that book that you're holding up, please, Dirty. But before I go, just want to say, yo, give thanks to Kabaka Pyramid, Dirty Bookman, Kwasi Bansu, Kalila Rose, Ath Resort, even though he didn't get to perform, Raven Amani, just, yeah, man, all of the panelists, everyone for coming out, you know, Jabi from Dark, I'm an elder from New York. This really feels like a family reunion. No, Bingy Sean from Habisha, just, yeah, man, so many family members, and we just want to say, you know, just keep up the good works, my family, because I know that a lot of people here are organizers and they are on the ground doing the work. Like Kabaka says, not a talk thing. These are people who are doing the work. So I just say more strength to the item, you know, and we give thanks. And Dirty, yeah, man, let them know about the book, they please.
Yeah, man, give thanks everyone. And once again, give thanks just for the gathering. You know, it's always an honor to see ones and ones gather with like mind and unity of purpose. This book is a some say a rare book. It took me a long time to actually get it myself. It's Message to the People, the Course of African Philosophy. Next to the philosophies and opinions, this is almost like esoteric knowledge, you know?
Real talk.
Yeah, this is based on lectures given by Marcus Garvey to a select number of people who he handpicked for leadership roles, and he put them through an intensive course. Night son, that's it. And put them through a very intensive course, you know? I'm talking, okay? Put them through a very intensive course, and just, you know, it's in how many lessons? I think it's 22 lessons. I'm going to actually just read the first paragraph of lesson 12. Since the theme of today has been institutions, the purpose of institutions is lesson 12. The first paragraph, which is just 2 simple sentences, goes, organized society is always a mass of people, and as such cannot do anything explicit or by detail by themselves. Hence, the organizing of institutions to do the particular work that cannot be done by the masses as a whole. So, you know, this just goes to show you, you know, the kind of thinking that Garvey had. He was way ahead of his time. If he had lived today in the age of social media, I can tell you that 90% of us probably would not have liked him. You know what I mean? Just based on the way that we think today in this world. And just like in his time, 90% of people never like him. So we have to push forward with confidence to do what we know we're here to do. And, you know, whether or not ones like it and other people, you know, think it's great, we know what we have to do. And the task that's ahead of us is great, and we have to rise to the occasion. So give thanks.
We give thanks for those facts and that sharing. Anybody else? Because if not, we are going to say a strong good night. Kwasi?
Just want to big up Raven Imani, because anytime I'm in Jamaica, I use her band for perform. And the work that she's doing with the children have to be highlighted, you know. Raven approached me at a Kabaka show, as a matter of fact, and told me about the works. And from that, we've been linking. So the greatest thing is when you can build institutions, then the institutions can come together and do work. So I just wanted to leave everyone with that practical application of collective security. And there are many other examples on this line of ones that we've been working with over the years. So the future is bright. Let's leave on an upbeat moment and know that the future is bright and the victory is sure. We remain confident the victory of good over evil. Sila.
Selah.
Rastafari.
That's it, love.